Hello, Orville Nation. How are you tonight? I have with me the great George Peter Gatsis, the one and only. Hey, George.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Hello, PJ. Hello, audience. And I just want to make a correction. It's the great and powerful, awesome George Peter Gatsis. I'm not related to the wizard, of course.
I know, right? Pay no attention to the man behind the
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 curtain.
blue cartoon. Pay no attention to the man behind Joe King. By the way, for if you guys haven't gotten it, because I didn't get it at first, Joe King is as in joking. That's an interesting name. Hello, Chef Carolyn. How are you? I hope you're cooking up something wonderful. Hello, Adega. How are you, my friend? Good to see you. Um, so we had a I had a technical problem last night, and we didn't do this yesterday as we had planned. So we're kind of improvising it tonight. But I figured we may just go ahead and talk a little Lost in Space, and then we'll get on track next week. Um, but and I have there's a couple people else. There's a couple more people joining us. I think Script Doctor and Final Death Star are going to join us. Are you there, George?
Yeah, right here, right here.
Oh, okay.
I was
I
just, I didn't want to interrupt your awesome speech.
oh, okay. uh, let's see. Hello, Dave G Sound. Oh, that's great, Chef Carolyn. You hit 100. Oh, that's great. Anybody, guys, anybody who has not subscribed to Chef Carolyn, she is a friend of the channel. Please subscribe to Chef Carolyn. Hit on those three dots next to her name and sub. Hey, Jonathan Myers, how are you? Danger Will Robinson. um, so as we wait for our friends to come in, and hey, Chef Carolyn, do you feel like joining us to let's get your sub count up. Do you feel like joining us to talk a little Lost in Space? I'm gonna send you I'm gonna send you on Twitter, Chef Carolyn, in case you feel like joining us. So how do you feel? How do you feel about season two in general? While we wait for these guys, George.
I liked it. I was actually mesmerized in a lot of the episodes. They were the it really pulled at your brain, at your heartstrings in some places. In other places, actually, it was like watching uh, like a, a TV episode of Alien. The Sigourney Weaver movie. There was a heart pounding moments where
Yeah.
things are getting closer and no one knows what it is, and the unknown kind of plays in the back of your head, going like, oh my god, how are they going to get out of this situation? And there was a lot of cat and mouse scenario, and then when the characters meet other members that are not from the crew, and you're going like, oh, okay, everything's going well, and then all of a sudden, there's a new layer to the story that's injected. There were some I lack of better description. There were so many layers of story, sub story, subplots uh, in this season.
Let me
Uh,
just say hi to Final Death Star. Hey, Final, thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
greetings, greetings. As I was saying, there's so many layers in the story elements in season two. I was really impressed. Superior to season one.
Okay. So, Final, it's good to see you, my man. I think this may be the second time we've been on together.
Yeah, I think it has. I think this is the second time, even though we've talked for quite a while. Yeah, I think
Exactly.
we've only
Yeah.
streamed together twice now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know
Well,
George?
I just finished. I've just finished the first episode 1 of season 2, and yeah, I mean, so far I like the fact exactly, George, like what you were saying, it really builds a slow building drama. They did a really good job building anticipation, just in that first episode of like, the atmosphere and what exactly is going on. Of course, they end on a great cliffhanger, pun intended. And, and you're not really sure. I mean, we kind of have an idea who built it, but yeah, they did a great job with the atmosphere of the show. I thought one of the main things I liked about this episode so far is that it actually had everyone together, like the family was all together. Whereas season 1, they had a lot of side episodes. It was like the dad and Will, and they were broken up a lot, which works because separate missions is always good. But I really like the fact that they were like all in one space, unity, trying to work together to figure out where they ended up after being like sucked in that black hole, and how they were going to get out of the situation. And then you have all the added elements of like little callbacks. I think when you said like the Sigourney Weaver and Aliens, I thought Parker Posey, like her outfit was very reminiscent of Ripley to me. I don't know if that was intentional, but I totally got like a Ripley vibe. I mean, the hair.
I got the same vibe.
Yeah, let me just say hi to Chef Carolyn. Thanks for joining us. Congrats on
Thanks
your 100 subs.
Thanks for having me. I'm almost there. Almost.
So everybody sub.
I'll sub you right now.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Heck yeah, especially talking about Lost in Space season 2. I enjoyed it. I finished it maybe a couple weeks ago.
Great. So I was just asking, I was asking George, and Final just joined us. So I'm going to ask the three of you again. And if you want, Chef, because you're going to leave us soon, maybe you can start. How is it different for you from season 1?
Let's see. Season 1 for me, like, the first couple episodes, it's always the feeling out the pilot, getting to know the people, the family, what the conditions are. Out of season 2, I liked more that they were together as a family, as a unit, as the Robinsons. Whereas season 1, yeah, like I forgot who said it before. They had the dad, mom, doing their thing, and then you had the brothers, sisters doing their thing, and they weren't all together until things got really intense. Then they all had to kind of put the Robinson brain power, as I put it, together to come up with a solution. But the relationship with Will and the robot in the first season, I really enjoyed. And going into season 2, which I won't really get into since we're on episode 1, I like that differential, how Will has grown in season 2 and how the robot has grown and how their relationship is kind of differed a little bit.
Great. What about you, Final?
Yeah, like I was saying, I definitely like the fact that they're all working together as a family. Something that that I thought season 1 lacked a little bit, just the unity of them, going through this together. I mean, they were all in it together, but they were broken up into separate missions. So, and I like Parker Posey's. I like where they're taking her character. I was kind of iffy on her. I like her. First of all, I like her as an actress a lot, but I was kind of iffy
Parker
on her
Posey.
here and there. Yeah, she's great. But season 1, I was kind of back and forth with how I felt. At times, it kind of felt, I don't know, she's getting kind of annoying for some reason to me. I can't really pinpoint why.
I got the same
I
vibe.
like her.
I felt the same vibe. Like certain episodes, you were just like, man, you're so fucking annoying. And then other episodes,
right.
kind of like, okay, I can roll with what you're spitting out.
Yeah, I totally agree. I can't really pinpoint why that is, but that's just how I felt. But then I like this episode because now they're kind of have this uneasy, sort of relationship with her where she's in it. You don't trust her. They don't trust her. You know what her motives. She's got to have ulterior motive. Is kind of stuck with out of that situation. She did see what was coming with the current and everything. So, I like her character better now that she's kind of not a total evil person, although she probably still, we don't know yet, just episode 1. But they're forced to work with her. So I like that. I liked her character a lot in this episode.
Yeah, I liked how
And her
her
relationship with
character
the mother
development
too.
came out in this season. This season, I liked how Parker Posey's character came out this season.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where they take it. I'm so
Oh,
excited
yeah.
because it was a good beginning. And then the last image of the show, where you see the hand where it was writing the or it wasn't right. It was, I guess it's supposed to be like a cave drawing of what I'm guessing was the craft with the two sails. That was a pretty
Yeah.
neat little moment. Right after they're hanging off that cliff about to go over the waterfall, and then they cut to black, and then you see the hand drawing. It's like, well, they're there.
So, George, how did you compare it to season one for your experience of season one?
Season one felt more like an epilogue to an overarching epic story. It didn't feel like it was self-contained, and it was like they were not treading water. They were wading into the pool slowly, setting up all the character interactions between father and son, father and daughter, husband and wife, and so forth. It just felt like a lot of setup. And the second season, absolutely spectacular. It was like a prologue or the first act of this huge story. It didn't feel anything out. It was exciting. It was an exciting season. So, yeah, if you really want to think about it, it's more like this is one of the rare moments where season two is better than season one, and hopefully season three will be better than season two and one. It just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, I agree with several things you guys said about, especially about the unity at the beginning of season two. That to me, it felt like it was missing in season one. And I also felt like in season one, like you guys were right, there was a lot of John Robinson was doing something, Maureen Robinson was doing another. I even think there were some very unrealistic things that happened in season one. Maureen could go off and do like very, very dangerous things by herself, and she wouldn't even tell anybody where she was going. And
Right.
Yeah.
especially like there was this one thing, I don't know if you guys remember, but she does like she takes a balloon to the edge of space and doesn't even tell anybody, and does this like a suborbital jump. And so
Yeah,
there was,
like
there was like a
if
lot
you're
of
gonna
hostility
do that, you
between
might want to
them.
let somebody know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Just a heads up, in case there's an accident.
So this, it really felt like I think they listened to the feedback. What do you guys think? They listened to any feedback? Does it feel like they did?
I'll chime in first. I don't think they did. I think they have a really great outline of this huge epic story, and they're just giving it to us. I mean, I'm sure they're listening to the fans and wanting to hear what the fans are saying, but it looks like in this case that they have a roadmap, and I don't think they're going to change it, because there's a lot of work in the sets. There's a lot of work in production value, and there's no way they can turn that kind of production value on a dime. It takes sometimes a couple of years just to get to the stuff that we see on screen. So, while we're reacting to something that they showed us now, they already have a lot of stuff committed for season three in terms of visual effects and whatnot. And there's no way they're going to be turning that around because the fans are upset.
Is it the same? Is it the same director that does? Is it been the same director in season 2, episode 1? Is it the same director throughout the entire series? I'm not sure, or is it different directors? Because I thought the pacing of this was different from season 1 too. It felt a lot more. Maybe it was just episode 1, but it felt a lot more. It paced well. The way it built the drama and built the anticipation, and I thought that was different from season. I don't know if that was a directorial thing or, like you said, maybe that's just their outline and they're just slowly building. But I thought the pacing seemed different in this.
Yeah, I thought season 1 kind of drug out a little bit timing wise for certain episodes, but season 2 I felt was a little bit faster, just because you knew what was going on and they wanted to get to a lot more things that were going on with the Robinsons and the family. But that's how I felt. I felt like the second season was a lot more faster. I was able to finish more episodes a lot quicker than the first season.
I think it is the same. Just double checking it. I think it's the same director.
See, it's Alex Graves who directed the episode 1 of season 2 here, and see if that was the same as.
Well, let me just say. I should say actually, it's the same showrunners.
Same showrunners, yeah.
I think so.
Okay, so the directors have looks like they've changed by episode, because the finale was not Alex Graves; it was somebody else, and neither were the episodes before. Yeah, so it seems like the directors changed per episode. So that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. For some reason, this just felt like it was faster paced. Maybe that was something they decided on.
Hope
the
maybe.
building quicker?
I felt like the first season was just a little slow, but the second season they really kicked it up with everything.
I think George does have a good point. That it might not just be the change we're seeing is we probably saw like the prelude to season 2 and like the epilogue. And I think George might be right. I mean, assuming that they were guaranteed to season 2, they could go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's not like, unlike Picard or The Mandalorian or that drop every week. It's like, I can't really question things because you guys already know. If you've watched the whole season, you already know the answers to them. It's like, what's the atmosphere? What do you think it is? What do you think the rat? But you guys probably already know all the answers.
Like, I don't want to say too much because I was like, I'm afraid I'm gonna like spoil the whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
Go ahead, though,
it's tough doing these.
Say what you're thinking.
Well, no, I was just saying, this kind of sickness that the atmosphere, is it just something that they're not able to breathe? They said the water they can't drink. Now it could be ocean water, salt water, whatever. We can't drink that either. But the atmosphere seemed to be giving the dad, a rash of some kind on his hands, and he was having trouble breathing, was making him sick. I just wonder if there's something deeper to that, or if it's just the atmosphere alone that's causing it, or if there's something more to it. But is it kind of a biological thing that's in the atmosphere? Were they trying to kill off some sort of race to build their mechanical? I don't know, but you guys might know the answer to this already, or maybe it's nothing at all. That's the weird thing about doing an episode breakdown when the season's already been available.
I'm gonna give my interpretation. I know the answer, but I'm gonna give my interpretation of what I would have said after episode 1. I would have just thought it was the atmosphere is just incompatible with human life, is what I would think.
Right.
Yeah.
And to piggyback off of Orville Nation, because I know what happened.
I think I'm the only one who doesn't know what happened.
But like after watching the first episode, if I didn't watch any more episodes, I would have to say it was the atmosphere and where they happened to land. That but I don't want to say anything more because I know what happened.
Yeah. I mean, the obvious answer is it's just the atmosphere, like if we went to Mars or whatever. But, I just wonder his reaction to it. It wasn't like he just wasn't able to breathe. It was making him sick. I wonder if there's more to this. Or anyway, for now, until I watch the rest of it. But, certain things that popped into my head as I'm watching it.
So let me just take a final. Sorry, I want to say hi to Meta Studios, to Paul Jenkins Meta Studios, who is in the chat room, and to Kathia and to Dega and to who else is it? And to Captain Trek and everybody who's been in here, and Nano Reaper. Everybody subscribe, guys, to Adega, to Meta Studios, to Chef Carolyn, and to Final Death Star. They all have content on the channels, and of course, the one and only George Peter Gatsis as well, guys. Subscribe to all of them if you haven't. So
my videos are more Star Trek Picard right now.
Cool.
I stop to everybody I can. including Chef.
It's like, yeah, Star Trek Picard is like my thing, my hub right now. That's my baby right now.
Are you enjoying that, Chef?
Okay. The first episode for me, it gave me all the Star Trek feels. The second episode, I felt more was kind of like it was more empowerment of women. Women rule and men suck, which really made me upset. Just how the confrontation with Picard and the Admiral happened at Starfleet headquarters. How she tried to say that it was her wheelhouse and it wasn't Picard's wheelhouse anymore. I did not agree.
Yeah.
I was like, I call BS on that. It's like, and then the third episode, it got me back into it, and with a big plot twist with having Seven show up, it's growing on me slowly. I just need a little bit more Trek in there, just a little bit more, and then I'll probably be 100% on board with it. I'm still riding the fence. I'm enjoying it. I don't dislike it. I'm still just like, I need something more. I think what I'm craving is what is going on with the Borg cube and why and what's going on with the Borg. That's my big question.
Okay. Yeah, Picard.
Other
has
than that, I
been
like the show.
great, awesome. And I don't want to get too off track here. I just wanted to ask you because your videos.
Oh, yeah.
How do you guys feel about the robot not being from Earth, being like an alien artificial life form? How do you guys feel about that?
I like it.
Yeah, I'm okay with
dig
that
it.
too. I mean,
I dig it. I like how his face changes with his expressions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But-
the light inside and the way it moves, and it's pretty neat. The patterns. Yeah, it's an interesting take on it for sure. And I'm okay. I don't. Do we know if it's like was it right? It was a created robot. It doesn't have like a life essence inside of it, right?
I don't think it does.
I don't
it seems
think
like
so.
an artificial life form, right?
It was totally created. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, it's not like the Cybermen of of Doctor Who, something. There was like you think they're robots, but they were actually built upon humans at one time. I mean, I don't think it is either. I was just wondering if that had been like established 100%, because somehow someone had to have created them, but we don't know who that is yet. As far as I don't remember in season 1 them dealing with their origin, which is why I'm wondering if this planet that they landed on somehow has something to do with the origin of them, and that's what's making my brain think of like the atmosphere and is there something more to it? But
I'm just gonna tell you, keep watching. Just keep watching.
yeah,
Well,
I will.
Without going past season 2, episode 1, the one thing that's intrigued me for season 1 is, and the first episode of season 2, is that if you look back to Lost in Space, the original TV series, and then the movie, and then the actual failed TV series, the pilots that happened after that, and then now what's going on, you're getting a hint that they're all kind of connected in terms of structure, and the structure I'm talking about is some sort of time travel. It happened in the 60s show. It happened in the movie. They hinted in the failed pilot. They hinted it in the first season, in a very slight way. In the second season, they're hinting it as well, because, and I'm going like, this could be a long form story where the robots that we think are aliens could possibly be actual machines of human construct, but from a different time.
So you're saying they could have been from these robots could have been from the future, from humans made them, but maybe they made them out in space somewhere, and now they've traveled backwards.
There's just so many possibilities to. I mean, they could be pulling a V'ger on us. They could be pulling the concept that while the Robinsons and the crew of the space station, I forgot the name, that they encounter in episode in season 2, is that maybe they're not in sync in time. Maybe both the Robinsons and the space station crew on that bigger ship, they are displaced in time as well in space, and they don't have the frame of reference just yet.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the finale of season 1 into season 2, they entered through that kind of wormhole thing, and it's like they're shooting through like a nebula or something. It's interesting background, whatever they're flying through there, and you don't really know where they end up. I mean, other than they're on this planet, but you don't really know when. So
This is true. They didn't say
Holes,
time, date.
you don't know how. Right? No, they have no idea where they are.
In terms of them, exactly. In terms of the cast, to them, time is relative to their experience.
Right.
Their machines are not flicking backwards like in Star Trek when they go, Captain, we're going backwards in time after we slingshot around the sun, and their chronometer is going backwards. It's like, no, that's impossible. The chronometer wouldn't be going backwards because
it's relative to wherever they are at that. Right. Yeah. So the time doesn't like literally physically change on a clock hand.
Yeah, exactly. But the human body doesn't feel it. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The blood would be pumping the opposite way in our bodies if that were the case.
Right.
The time hand's going to go backwards. Yeah.
Let me just say hi to
that's a
Bird of
good point.
Prey, Stogie, Joe Lau, anybody, Adega, anybody who wants to jump in tonight, you guys. I just put this thing in the stream. To anybody who wants to talk, Lost in Space is welcome. So I just want to say that I thought I was a little concerned about the robot, but I think it's okay. I think it's okay that he's as long as they do things well, I think everything is possible. As long as you do things with care. And the other question I wanted to ask you guys was that are you guys okay with I think the gender swap works. Are you guys comfortable with Parker Posey? We were talking about it before, as is Dr. Smith.
I haven't noticed, honestly. Season 1, I go, oh, Smith is a chick now, okay. But after that, it was like her acting so well done. It just didn't bother me at all. It was just like Starbuck and Battlestar Galactica. The acting was so well done. It's like, or the Kingpin in the Daredevil movie, the black gentleman who passed away.
Let me say hi to Stogie
Michael Clark
for
Duncan.
joining us.
Oh,
Sorry,
Michael
go
Clark
ahead.
Duncan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolute genius. The actor, he was absolutely genius.
Let me just say hi to Stogie, guys. Stogie joined us. Welcome, Stogie.
Hello, Stogie.
Hey.
Greetings. As I was saying, Michael Clark Duncan, the guy was an absolute genius as an actor. And when he played the Kingpin, you're going like, okay, the Kingpin's black, but the guy's a great actor. He really pulled it off. It was.
And he physically fit that role too.
Yeah, you did.
I mean, he was perfect physically for the role. Yeah. It didn't bother me either. I mean, this shows that when it's done right and it's done well, it doesn't matter. But when they do it just to do it, and it's obviously, apparent to most people when it's done for the sake of swapping instead of like Parker Posey just fit the role. Like she just did she's just doing a good job as the character, but they're not making a big deal out of it.
With changing the Doctor. I actually had a real problem with that.
It's totally obvious.
And the way she is genuinely psychopathic and homicidal, the other Doctor in both iterations, both my parents' version and more my generation's, right? He was a prick. He was willing to kill people, but he wasn't, right there, knife in hand, like ready to just stab and cut people up, Like this is a whole next level of violence in this character.
Do you like it though, or would you prefer the original?
I would prefer that character actually be toned down a little bit. I don't mind the manipulative level, right? Because that's on par. I just find the extreme hands-on nature of, willing to commit almost something parallel to like a secret agent movie with like super advanced killing training. She just seems like next level off the hook. And I guess that's cool if that's what you want. But I think I was more into the cerebral and not so much the homicidal. If that makes sense.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
We're in a different time in human entertainment. I mean, we're a long way away from Dr. Smith of the '60s, cutting a piece of chocolate cake from a birthday cake, and then kind of squishing the rest of the cake together so it doesn't look like you took any of the cake. I don't think Parker Posey's character's got.
George.
Thank you. I mean, I love that series. And by the way, John Williams did the score for the opening of the '60s. If anyone didn't know that, it was absolutely amazing. John Williams did a lot of scores, but Lost in Space was one of the best.
I did not know that.
No, the Parker Posey Doctor, right? You would expect that she would open up the cake because she's trying to lace it with arsenic.
Yeah. Or maybe some hallucinogens.
Oh, or something worse.
Yeah, or something to make everyone pass out so she can, do her thing.
You know what's screwed up about her? She's the kind of character like you remember from Alien, the android that's like happy to let people get infected because I want to see what happens if I can get control of this killing machine. She's that kind of messed up.
She's totally that kind of that's true.
Well, I mean, even in the first season when she took over the robot, I mean, you saw right then and there what her motive was right then and there.
Yep.
Like she went full fucking psycho right there. It was like, I'm gonna take out everybody.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's part of what I was saying before that kind of bothered me in the first season about her was like that. Maybe, it's like the extremes that she went to, or just kind of it got a little annoying, and maybe that's why, because it wasn't as believable, But so far, like I've only seen Stogie. I've only seen the first episode of season 2 so far, so I don't know where they're taking her. But I thought she was like toned down in a way in season 2, episode 1.
And then they probably heard the fans kind of say, I thought this. I mean, because even like my mom, right? She's in her 60s. She loved that show, the remake. She thinks it's amazing compared to the original one that she got to grow up with, and the only character that kind of put her off a bit was the Doctor. It put a lot of older people off. The violence was too far.
Welcome, Chief Cook. How are you? Good. Thanks for joining us.
Actually, I do have to agree because my parents, they're both in their 60s, and like they're both watching the new Lost in Space, and they're kind of turned off with Parker Posey's character. They're like, this isn't the Dr. Smith that we know. But for me, I kind of like it because I'm like, I've seen the older ones, I've seen this one, and I'm like, well, they're kind of taking it in a different way, but I dig it.
If you're thinking about it though, instead of being lazy, Chief, there's some wicked feedback coming off that, brother. It doesn't make any sense for her to behave so demented, so deranged, because her entire behavior is dependent on, I want to survive. I want to get back to the place that is going to be civilization, right? She doesn't want to have to do shit on her own.
It was like that
she wants to feed off like a parasite.
I think it was that episode they showed with her and her sister with that whole conversation.
Yes. She's a
It's
parasite.
like you got her demeanor right then and there, like what she was really going for. It's like, okay, you're gonna like kill your sister.
Is she a twin?
But then again, if I'm remembering correctly, she does seem to be one of those characters that it's like she's got mental health issues that's plain in sight for a blind man to see, and yet the sister is still a bit antagonistic about it. It's like, I'm going to leave. Screw you. I'm leaving you nothing. The world's going to die and you're going to die with it. Fuck off. Like, hey, you know, even if I loved a family member, I might jack up for the ticket for that shit.
Is she a twin?
Right?
If it's F me, it's F you, you know? Like, come on.
Yeah, I didn't feel too bad for the
Brad.
sister. She was totally self-absorbed.
Yeah, she was a super self-absorbed bitch.
Yeah, I really didn't care when she took her sister out and got that ticket. I was like, well, girl, bye. It's like, you did it to yourself.
Guys,
Yeah.
let me ask,
Well,
let
'cause
me
clearly-
ask, Chief Cook what he thought about the first episode of season 2.
Yeah, I'm here. How you doing?
Hey,
Well, I saw them first and second season, and I agree with some of everybody was saying about the Dr. Smith character. I knew they was going to change. I didn't know they were going to change it to a female. Cause I was the same thing. Like where's Dr. Smith? And she's a female. Like, oh, okay. But no, I think it's still one of the SGW movies because like everyone is boss. You know, the girl is boss, the teenager's boss.
What'd you think of the new Stowaway story? I was able to stomach that. You know, how she snuck on board.
I ain't got no problem with that.
It worked for me.
Yeah, it worked. It works.
I like how they wrote that in.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
It's-
that was good. But
It's a reused element from the movie.
original.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, from the movie itself too.
Which I
Yeah.
thought was fair because, right, you wouldn't have somebody in that position if it wasn't an oops.
Yeah, and she killed
Why
the
am I
original Dr.
here?
Smith.
Oh well, I got to make the best of it.
And she killed the original Dr. Smith, which is the kid who played Will Roberts.
Oh,
original
well,
Roberts.
see, that's an interesting point he brings up, right? Doesn't she kill the man who's named Dr. Smith? So in
Yeah.
reality, Dr. Smith actually was a man,
I
but
see.
he got murdered straight away.
Yeah.
Ah,
She
He
killed him.
stole his identity.
stolen
Yeah.
identity.
Don't say
That's
anything.
interesting.
Yeah.
So they didn't really
Yeah.
gender swap it. They just used someone else to kill who should have been the
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 character.
actual Dr.
Right.
Smith in this
Ah,
universe
that's
wasn't a
interesting.
bad guy. He was a good guy, and
That's,
he
yeah.
got assassinated for his identity.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
so
good.
I
didn't-
just
man,
wanted
it
to
was-
say,
It
guys.
was a lousy kill. It was a lousy kill, man. I thought he'd be like, I wanted him like be alive, and it's like you stole my identity. Then she killed him like like the guy she killed through the airlock. I thought that'd be a great idea like that, but you still and you were still in stasis, and she just like hit the switch and like okay, no, that's it, no. But that was
Yeah,
that's
and she was on camera when she did that. Like,
Yeah.
how she didn't think she was gonna get caught for that one.
yeah. And how would you get the
Right.
code? That's what I don't understand it. She's not that smart. How'd you get the code? You gotta have a code, but how'd you get the code? That don't make no sense.
Yeah,
She ain't been there long enough to find a code. She that unless she aspire or something.
yeah. That's a very good point. Like, not just because you stole somebody's ID doesn't mean you can
Get the
suddenly
password.
have knowledge of their security codes
Yeah, the
that would
password.
allow any, no random jerk could just open the airlock door
Yeah.
and decide they want to ventilate everybody out of some room.
Right,
you know?
Yeah, that part was
Yeah.
kind of. I was like, okay, all of a sudden she's got the
She's not
codes.
that
I'm like,
smart.
how
Yeah.
did that happen?
Yeah, she's not that smart.
like-
I mean,
Is
She's
she also a
literally-
cybernetic in there? Is like a little bit of data in her?
I guess
Well,
if she had, I guess you're supposed to feel if she had like his key card or whatever, his ID, then
yeah, no.
in the
it's
future
password.
that's like a one swipe biometric thing, like it's a one card does it all sort of thing.
No,
I mean,
yeah, but no, it was a password because she typed it in.
Yeah, like she hit
Yeah,
the
then-
password
his
and then
multi-pass.
yeah. Then
yeah,
then-
okay, that's a good point.
Yeah, here's the kicker: how she delete everything? If you got a password, you got to have I think you said more a level, some kind of level, a security level, to get all the password. But
Yeah, but
how
I
do you
don't
get
think-
that?
I don't think a doctor would be,
Yeah.
a medical professional would be allowed to ventilate people out,
Yeah.
an airlock, and you would think that the airlock in itself, because this is super futuristic, this thing's going to be freaking out. Oh, yo, there's a human being in here. I'm not going to let you put them out into space. That violates the ship's security protocol.
Yeah,
And just because there's a monster or a robot running around blowing shit up doesn't mean that basic functions of like sensors stop working. Locally, if they have power, it's going to say, oh, there's a human being in there. Sorry, I can't open the door right now.
Well, hold on a sec. Maybe it was because she was using Dr. Smith's ID.
That's the thing. I don't think a doctor would have the kind of credentials to be allowed to say kill a person.
I don't think they'd have that kind of clearance on that kind of spacecraft.
I think you'd have to be like a mechanic or a security.
Not
be able to do that.
But hold on a sec.
But still, but still,
or both. One would have to approve the other, you know?
Or double approval or something, like 2 key cards, you switch at the same, something like that.
The nuclear option, if you will.
Right.
George, what were you saying? You want to finish saying what you were saying?
Sorry, George.
Oh, that's okay. Or maybe they sorry, the conversation's going great. Or maybe the doctor prescribed being launched into space.
No, wait. Yeah, but still, if she used Dr. Smith code to open the airlock, the security can say, "Hey, Dr. Smith opened his door at 7:15 p.m." It could still trace it to her.
And you would think
erase all that.
You would think, okay, so even if there isn't some sort of computer system or sensors to detect that somebody's in there and stop it, you would think that a request to open an airlock would go to the bridge, and somebody on the bridge can either approve or deny that access, right? So that's sort of like the whole, you wouldn't just be able to randomly do that. I think that's one of the most inaccurate things of all the stuff we've ever been shown. It's like spaceships in the future are not going to be like flying around in a 737. All right. You're not just going to be able to like turn a handle and you're out the door. Right. Or push a button and be out the door. Or even an airlock process. I mean, they showed us a highly advanced spaceship that was essentially a colony ship. Right? They're not just going to, and these people had advanced everything for everything. Please believe the door is going to know that it's about to kill somebody.
You would think
this stuff is going to get addressed in season 2. Let me just say that, guys. Go ahead, Chef.
Well, you would think that they would have like a fail safe to an airlock.
Yeah, but still,
I totally agree.
Must have a security log that say who's out this.
I think it would be more than like ship security is mall security. Like, did you think you were going to get away with stealing those trainers? We just watched you on the camera. No, she committed murder.
Yeah, because you think if there were, like, if they had an emergency situation, and there's one person on the ship and they needed to get out using the airlock, maybe they'd have something in place. But it wouldn't be something, like you guys said, it wouldn't be something that a doctor's security clearance would. There'd have to be. It wouldn't be a password thing. There'd have to be some other protocol, even if it was for one person to be able to do it without getting authority. You think it'd be harder to do than just have one password that you type in.
And I sort of don't even buy why that airlock was even there, unless it had something to do with the connection point to one of those sub ships, that break free from this thing. And then even at that point, you're saying that you're going against multiple fail safes. This thing knows that its connected vessel is not there. So why would it open? Right? It's designed to only open when its secondary connected vessel is in place, not to open into dead space. So you're in the plot. They're basically saying that a device would function against its native purpose for the plot.
Yeah. And that the doctor somehow had the one password somehow that was able to make that function against its nature.
Right. Even mall security knows to hit a button and lock the main electric doors, right?
Yeah.
If they see something going down. So even mall security would have been better prepared.
Guys, let me just mention something that we left a couple of minutes ago. The only reason I'm going to say it is because it's not a secret on the internet.
Shoot.
Bill Mummy. So we talked about the murder of the real Dr. Smith. Bill Mummy is going to be an ongoing presence in the series, and that's all I'm just going to say. And because we were only talking about episode 1 here, so
What?
Like
Nice.
his character or the
Well-
actor himself?
the character.
Hmm.
So, and that's I'm just saying because it's out there. So
Stay tuned.
That is freaking awesome, man.
So is that through time travel, I wonder, or flashbacks? Huh. Okay.
yeah, I
Well,
don't want to talk about it.
Chances
Yeah, I mean,
are
don't answer that. Obviously.
potentially lazy writing, but we'll see. I think one of the biggest problems we have with most of these shows that we would really like to enjoy nowadays is there's a lot of money put into the pizzazz, into the visual animation, but when it comes time to the story, they really shit the bed. And I don't mean Lost in Space per se. I mean a lot of genres. They solicit their scripts and their stories, I feel like, from hedge funds and people who are going out there and market testing every little odd thing to see if it's, just neutral enough to be profitable.
Well, JJ had to put space ponies and hairdryer robots in Star Wars because of market and because of focus groups.
Oh my God.
That's the truth. No, not everybody says it. Nobody talks about it. But
Oh my
sorry,
God.
George.
Oh, you know what? You just this is a brilliant idea. All we have to do is just sway social media, with the hashtag Lost in Space, and say we put something ridiculous like Godzilla, and then we just continue bombarding it for about a year, and then see what happens in season 4. Will they put Godzilla in Lost in Space?
No, I want a giant hot air machine. I want the lead male to be arguing with the mother. If you want that hot air machine, you pick it up. Of course, I had to go to Spaceballs.
All right. So, the other thing is, what about the visual effects?
Oh, the visual effects are amazing. And whoever's building the scenes, these sites where they set up camp and do the shoots, essentially, right? It looks amazing. Whoever's ever going out there and scouting these forests and these places, and probably, by day, this is probably where somebody parks their farm equipment. But while they're renting it, it looks like these amazing facilities.
What about these futuristic rovers? I mean, it's like,
Oh, the rovers are awesome.
The rovers are cool.
Their
I want
shuttles
one.
are awesome. Go ahead, Chef.
I want a rover. I want one of those rovers.
Yeah, dude, those things are awesome. I really think that somebody took a hard look at what NASA was doing. You remember when the whole George Bush moon base thing kind of went tits up, and they had that really awesome rover that NASA made and was on like Top Gear. It had a sample featured segment on Top Gear. James May was driving it.
Yeah.
So I really think they took a big inspiration from that kind of a conceptual vehicle, and then kind of took a look at some of what people are doing in the sci-fi, art and animation and video games, took a cue from that and said, all right, here's the perfect medium. And it's kind of that, because it's a great looking rover.
It's badass.
What do you guys think about the Jupiters? Do you enjoy the Jupiters?
I like them too.
Those are cool too.
And I think what I like about them the most is it's a bit more of a throwback to like my generation's spaceship, right? So it's not the primary spaceship, but it still kind of reminds you an awful lot of that spaceship. It's just proportioned a little bit more reasonably, I think. A little bit more towards the generation that's going to be feeling like the Millennium Falcon hard. Not the old Falcon, but the new Falcon, where you get kind of a lot more of an internal understanding of this vehicle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Final, what about you? What do you think about the Jupiters? Can't hear you. Oh.
Your mic's muted, Final.
Oh, sorry, guys.
There you go.
Yeah, I like them too. I think it has a reminiscent look of the original style, you know, the circular. But yeah, like you said, it's modern. It's updated a little more. They've just made it a little more functional where it's believable. But I think they kind of kept the original idea of the aesthetics of how, you know, the pod shape kind of looked. They just made it a little more functional and believable for audiences. But I also like the inside of it too, not just the outside, but I like how it's laid out inside. It's, you know, where there's different corridors that kind of branch off from like the main, I guess it's kind of like their living area or like their kitchen dining room sort of area that they're all in. You know, it's a nice layout. It adds for some nice scenes where you can follow them through the ship.
Do you guys get a feeling of home whenever they're referred to the Jupiter, or go back to the Jupiter, just like the old Star Trek 60 series? Every time they talk about the Enterprise, or they make it back to the Enterprise, it feels like, you know, they're home and they're kind of safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's their lifeboat, right? So imagine a Gilligan's Island show where the minnow wasn't lost, right? And they were just schlepping around, say, like, the Solomon Islands, just completely fucking off course, going from island to island as the wind blows because they don't have any fuel no more.
That's not bad. And
You know what I mean?
and then after the last episode of the entire series, the skipper looks at the compass and says, "Gillian, why did you put the magnet near the compass?"
Well, guys, I have to head out. I gotta run a few errands. But it's been nice chatting with you all.
You as
Thanks,
well,
Chef. Thanks for joining us. Everybody, please subscribe to Chef Carolyn.
Please subscribe.
Check out her Picard reviews, which she's doing now, thanks. It's awesome to see you, Chef. Thanks for joining.
Thank
Jeff.
you, guys.
If PJ didn't tell you, I'm one of the Axonar people.
Oh, nice.
So we'll do some Trek chatting one of these nights.
Yes, we must.
All right, buddy. Take it easy.
All right. Thanks, PJ, for having me, buddy.
Thanks, Chef.
See you, Joe.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Take care. Bye,
Chef.
Chef.
You're a chef like
We
me.
got- You're a chef too? She?
Chef
Yeah.
and a cook.
Oh,
Yep.
oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What's
Did you
that
guys
say?
know-
Too
did
many
you guys know
chefs
each
in the
other?
kitchen?
Too many cooks.
Too many generals. Yeah, too many heads.
Yeah.
Too many generals and one private. What's the old military saying?
Let me ask you guys another question. How do you guys? I think
Too
it was
many
done-
chiefs and not enough Indians. Sorry, PJ.
Yeah.
I think this was done very well, and actually, I think it was a good way to include a little bit of diversity. How do you guys feel about the fact that Judy? So Judy is John Robinson's stepdaughter, and she's from a different father. How do you guys feel about that change?
What?
I
did
think they're
notice.
trying
I
to
don't know.
disassociate the social ramifications of her when she eventually goes and jumps one of the random crewmen. If you get what I'm saying there,
Well,
because they are indeed lost in space. And
It's
I
always
don't
the
know
option.
about you, but people, tend to want a little comfort in the night, and she's a growing girl.
well,
That went pretty dark.
Well, I'm
Chief
African.
Cook, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm black. I'm African American, and it's kind of weird when you Hollywood things again. Should have, no offense, token up a black girl in it, and I wish they kept her, like the original of white girl, and have it go as the guy who played Wes, the pilot. No, I ain't like that idea. I thought they have a relationship, but that's they killed it right there. I mean, that it don't make no sense.
I mean,
It
in
really is.
fairness, it sort of didn't bother me at all. I mean, I guess the hope would be in the future that, that's going to be more common than not because people aren't going to be thinking like that so much,
Yeah, they're not.
We just say
they're
welcome
They're
to
not. They're not
Bird
going
of
to
Prey,
be
guys.
turning themselves off of a relationship because, of old family traditions and, whatever you want to call it, let's call it racism, because you know how some families do. You're not gonna go marry that person. Oh, you're not gonna go marry this person. And, there's nothing but a fight.
Yeah, I didn't like how they did the
Comply,
Hey,
Bird
Bird.
Prey.
Hey,
Comply.
Bert.
Hey.
West, make him a mechanic. I thought that was stupid. I just that was real
Yeah,
stupid.
because he was right. He was basically like the captain / the pilot.
Yeah, he was a
So
major.
now he's just a wrench turner like that.
Yeah, a monkey wrench guy. And a
I
smuggler.
also kind of feel like that adds an element of trying to say she's slumming it.
Yeah, but no, you got 3 women outsmarted everyone. The first pilot, that scene where she risks her life and jumps in the water to save Will, and Dad, get mad, and she's like, "I'm a woman. You 19. You 18. You're not a woman." That was my daughter. I would like go off on her because that was just like kind of stupid. And I'm smarter than you on that kind of deal. So that's like I said, this is one of these special SJW comic books that they smarter than their one.
So I want to ask you.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Chief. I just want to ask because Bird of Prey just joined us. I just want to ask him what his initial reaction was to season 2, episode 1.
I really enjoyed it. I liked season 1 a lot. And to be honest, I heard of the original Lost in Space. I probably saw an episode or 2 over the years, but I never saw it all. And I was
Original's more for children, if you ask me at this point.
well, that's good because I was never planning to see it.
It was
from what
for
I saw.
a vastly more childish mind that would never have tolerated the amount of violence that's acceptable today.
Okay, well, I honestly
say about
didn't
season
watch
3?
season 1 until season 2 had already come out, and people were telling me, you got to watch it. Because honestly, I was just going to ignore it like I did the first series.
Oh, no, that would have been a mistake. Yeah, they did a
Definitely.
good job this time, for sure. This is not
Definitely
one of
was.
those screwed up remakes.
I was really happy with season 1, and then season 2 was right there. So I watched all of season 2, and I know some people haven't, so I won't go into anything beyond episode 1. But yeah, I was really happy with both seasons.
So you don't have that frame of reference from watching the original that there was the family was just too fractured for me in season 1. There was just too fractured, and there was too much hostility between, especially coming from the mother, Maureen. In my opinion.
That's what I'm saying. This is my way or highway kind of thing.
Well, she was actually posed as the smarter one of the two this time.
Exactly.
And the father was
Dumb
let's
down.
put it this way: he's just a dumbass soldier. What he don't know
he's the
shit
muscle.
about shit.
Exactly.
It's the muscle, yeah.
Yeah.
You
exactly.
need
That's
both.
She
You need both
basically-
to get anything done.
So it wasn't so much of a role swap, but as a role consumption. Her role in the family consumed both the father's previous role as an intellectual, frankly, and turned him into kind of a dullard. So, I mean, in a sense, I can see how some people are a little bitchy that way. Why are all the men dumbasses and whiny, bitchy bureaucrats who fuck shit up?
Yeah, and come down to it, this is her fault, but nobody's not gonna say it. So this is that's her fault. They out there 1,000 years, light years, on the way to wherever they're supposed to go, and who's she gonna blame?
Well, yeah, because he's a soldier, right? So he's been choking his feelings back for all this long. And now here comes the wife with a fucking great idea. Next thing you know, we're schlepping across the universe, fucking cleaning up her shit.
Exactly. And they mad because he's a Navy SEAL. He went on duty and come back. And anybody know in the military, you're gonna get 6 months deployment, and they all mad. Come on.
I think one of the most unrealistic things about this show is he would be like, "Hey, didn't you divorce my ass already? Why am I putting up with this shit?"
Yeah. And Will, oh God, no, original, he was smartest kid in the bunch, man. Now
Yeah, the new kid is kind of hokey. Like I don't dig how smart but dumb, dumb but smart he's supposed to be. Like his intelligence is a lie. Like it's all confused. Can he just
Okay.
be intelligent and let's
Yeah,
call
this-
it a day?
Yeah, in the movie, I understand like a 7 or 8 year old kid, like funny a dog, you have a dog, and you find that this kid like what 13, 14, and he's still obsessed with a robot. Come on, man.
Well, and I feel like they're going out of their way to try to enhance the everybody looks like shit factor in a sense. Like, hey, look at all these people. They're kind of shitty too. Hey, look at all these people over here. They're sort of shitty. Right? Like everybody's shitty. It's the future. We do what we got to do, and it's the Lord of the Flies.
So let me ask you guys this question, and I'm going to pose it to Final. What did you guys feel about the fact that that Don is a smuggler, and he's kind of got this dark side to him because he smuggled?
Like I said before, I
This is-
didn't like it. He should have been a pilot like the original, a smart ass pilot. You get on a ship and fly ship and make him a damn mechanic.
A smart ass pilot who would have stored a reasonable amount of liquor on board.
What do you have, like one whiskey bottle or something that he gives to him for a Christmas gift? He's like, it's our
Yeah.
only one I got, so here you go.
And if Dr. Smith was that dangerous, he would kill Dr. Smith a long time ago. I think he would have done it. He would get a gun and blow the head off.
Right. Because again, we have to remember it's the future. You're in space, and things turned Lord of the Flies awfully quick.
Especially when you're lost and you have no idea where you are or how you're going to survive.
I mean, you know that there's people out there generally trying to find your ass, but it's going to be a bit, and you could be stuck here for a while.
And you don't even know if you'll make it long enough till they get to you.
I had no problem.
You remember the first scene where the dad he created the solar cell, the cell like a sailboat. I thought that was a great idea. Did he get it and slap on a hey, good job idea? A good dad, that's a good idea, Dad. You don't hear none of that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
See, I don't always see, a female power agenda behind every issue, like what you guys were saying earlier with Picard, right? I didn't see anything but a pair of co-conspirators really stonewalling him. I didn't quite see much anything there, right? And sort of the male disempowerment scape.
It is. Oh my God.
But
I don't know. I picked up on it. I picked up on it a little bit.
Not
but
a single guy in all.
Look how the admiral treat him.
yeah,
well,
I mean,
he
just, belittled him.
he is
I mean,
Yeah.
an older
Picard, like a
gentleman.
legend.
Hold on. He
He
is
just
an older
belittled.
gentleman who just basically went on TV and kind of said, "Fuck you guys." Right? So think about it, right? If you were a politician and you just went on national TV and said, "Fuck the side," right? After making such a fuss and a stink. I understand this isn't our universe that we know and love anymore, like proper
Yeah.
Star Trek. Like, you got to
Yeah.
understand, this is like disco, everything smeared with 25%
Yeah.
of different shit Trek. So some of that means that 25% of the hostility level is going to be
Well,
different.
I did agree that
Senseless
like
hostility, mind you.
Well, John
Yeah.
Kerry in real life pulled the same Picard. So it's not like
I did like the. I got no problem with the smug she did, but when we came in there and said, "I want you to promote me back to captain," and I want this. I agree with that. She had a right to do that, but call me the F word, F bomb, this like this. She could say no. You said this and said that. You expected give you the ship again? No.
You know
agree
where I
with that.
lifted an eyebrow, though? When that Rico person came in and it was also a woman.
Yeah,
I will admit
yeah.
that is kind of where I started lifting eyebrow, right? Because now everybody in this conspiracy is a woman of some kind, because that's
Yes,
what it's
the
tracking
interesting-
to me
the
so far.
interesting, the interesting thing too here is, on one hand, you have these co-conspirators who, they're female and they're empowered and they're in charge, right? It's so fine, but it's also they're also bad. They also make them look bad too. Like, you're not rooting for them, So it's weird to have.
You're not
to
rooting
give-
for them.
you're
They
not-
fail.
Right,
Yeah.
you're not rooting for them, so they're giving you this strong female empowered. Like everyone now in Starfleet are these, high empowered females, but yet they're corrupt and they're evil, and you're not rooting for them. You're rooting for the old white guy, which is
I
kind of a
honestly
weird thing.
say that
No, super old white guy.
Clancy
who-
was evil. She just
That's
had
what
a
it is.
different opinion.
Super like this is your time. This is not your time anymore. Like the lady said, no, this is not your house anymore.
Commodore O
Oh.
might be evil, but
Well, yeah.
the other one isn't evil.
She's definitely evil. The other one's not so much. She's just belittled Picard, but yeah.
And she kind of had a right to.
I don't know. I mean, with some of that prestige, like that your history and your honor, I mean, that goes with you. It's not like, a former. If you still give proper respect to someone, even if they did something
I
that was
think
kind of crazy, you wouldn't go off on them like that. I don't believe so.
And
I think he
Let me
used a
just-
lot of his respect just getting the initial Romulan, mission to begin with. He's been fighting uphill that entire time.
Yeah. Well, and you got to remember too that it's not really our normal world. This story is going to spin in weird directions. I personally have a real problem with how easy it was for a handful of synths to apparently get fully weaponized warships and just erase a battle fleet, right? Yeah, maybe it's not a battle fleet, but they looked like ships that could have carried weapon systems with shields to me. How does it suddenly turn into a Pearl Harbor in like 5 minutes? Pearl Harbor took longer than 5 minutes, and it involved an awful lot of us shooting back.
Yeah,
So-
it was a day.
Well, all the power.
Well, this was more like
system.
this was supposed to be more like a Trojan horse, like a Trojan horse that got in under the radar and just annihilated everyone before they even had an idea, with what happened. I get the Pearl Harbor thing. That's true, but you still had an amount of time to respond.
Yeah, but the Trojan horse took down Troy, not an entire shipyard in space, not an entire facility and like colony, if you will, on Mars. Like the
Something like
sheer
Battlestar
level
Galactica.
of escalation is just outrageous.
Well,
Remember
maybe it was a lucky shot.
You
Remember
saw
about-
all the
Yeah, one X-wing took out the Death Star.
all the
yeah, I mean-
Martian defense
Remember
satellites
Battlestar
turned
Galactica,
towards Mars.
when they showed how the Cylons attack the ship, they interface with the computers and not wipe out the whole ship, but they don't have that at all.
Even
I mean, these
Data-
Siths were able to take
even
control
Data
of all their systems.
would not
too.
have been able to pull some shit like that out of his android butt. He would not have been able to tap into the entire network and make everything shoot at its own kind before, dude, thousands of people would have been spamming into this thing to override his one input.
In
So
DS9,
eventually they would
Red
have gotten
Squad
it
was
back.
able to shut off all the power on Earth.
Excuse me.
Those were human kids.
Wait, repeat that, Bird.
In
I couldn't
DS9,
hear you, Bert.
can you hear me?
Yeah, loud
Yeah.
and clear
Can you
now.
hear me now? In DS9, Red Squad was able to shut off all the power systems on the entire planet
Yeah,
as part of that secret
What do you
mission for the admiral who was trying to take over the Federation because he didn't think the president was a wartime president. They were able to do that with cadets and one starship and transporters. So
Yeah.
I think Data or Synth programmed could do the same thing on Mars, plus the weapons, no problem.
yeah. I mean,
Well, my only
I don't
problem
find
behind
that
that
hard to
is-
believe.
If it was that simple and that easy, then we're unraveling an awful lot of Star Trek because the Romulans would have just rolled in with like 3 Derdexes under the radar a long time ago and just super nuked everything and pissed off.
Yeah.
I mean, and for that matter, everybody would have. The Klingons would have done that 1,000 times over.
Remember this undiscovered country where that the stealth ship they had. You're right.
Yeah.
They were done a long time ago.
They had that first before anybody else. They could have fired and never have been seen. They had the Red October, if you will, before
Yeah.
anyone
Okay,
else.
but
Yeah,
They
well,
probably had
Here's a question:
some
do you
type
think
of
the
command
Klingons
codes.
actually created that? So they stealth, they could fire it on Cloak or the Romulans gave it to them.
in all likelihood, either the Tal Shiar, the Zhat Vash, and or Section 31 were involved. So whoever did this had probably all the code needed to shut everything off and just had to, program it in. This isn't stuff.
Well,
Now,
yeah, it was an inside job,
you
right?
say
So-
Section 31.
That's true. It
You
was an
say
inside
Section.
job.
You say
Oh.
Section 31. So the first thing that comes to my mind is this Borg op is some kind of quasi mixed, back alley black ops, because they're trying to acquire, exploit, and or monetize Borg technology
I'm getting.
to their consumers.
I think
I'm
Section 31
getting sick
just
and tired
wanted
of
to not help the Romulans. They were their biggest enemy, and they were like, "Let's let them die."
I'm getting
And
sick and tired. Of always hear Borg this and Borg. I thought the Borg was destroyed by Janeway, and anyway, but you always come on. It's the best enemy you can find. A Borg.
I mean, Rafi was
That should
basically
create something else.
a
Always the Borg.
9/11 truth.
Always the Borg.
So I think
Well,
that's what they were going.
The Borg are relevant in this general time frame because in all of the 20 years we're supposedly not seeing is when all of the good shit that we should be seeing on some kind of movie or TV show, fighting off the Dominion in a serious manner, and then the Borg, like there was supposedly a series of intrusions, right? That and I could see how that maybe kind of flexed the demeanor of the Federation, because once you become a society that has gone from the way we know the Federations to almost like a Roman civilization, barely hanging on, constantly throwing human beings at the problem and losing them.
From what I remember, it must have been after the Dominion War, after Voyagers come home, everybody's licking their wounds. Everyone lost a lot.
Tail between their legs. We still won, but they're walking away in shame because the losses are great.
Yeah, they lost everything. The Romulans licking their wounds, the Klingons licking their wounds, especially Calassian licking their wounds. Who are the Federation? But now all of a sudden, they out of blue, and here out of blue, here comes the Borg. Like, what the hell? And no one said they'd be up to 90% better. I remember when the last episode of Deep Space Nine, Ross said that we're not full capacity yet.
Guys, I want to really I'm going to bring this back to Lost in Space, because when people hit the replay on this, I want them to kind of know what they're looking into. So I'm going to just reel it back. Sorry, guys. I'm going to reel it back to Lost in Space. There's something that I noticed, guys, about Dr. Smith, that for me, it's very different. Now, I do like what Parker Posey's doing, but let me ask you this. If you guys remember, the original Dr. Smith he's the bad guy, but he was also kind of very lovable, and you kind of he was kind of your favorite character in many ways. Now, I ask you this question, guys, and I'm going to start with George, because George has been very familiar with the original series. George, what do you think? Do you feel this new character of Dr. Smith has that lovable side to her?
Yes, she does, because if you look at what's going on with the character development from season 1 to season 2, specifically, she is out for herself at every turn. But then all of a sudden, there are sparks of compassion, empathy, and even rolling up her sleeves to be part of the team and get the job done. But even when she does that, they still miss what do you call it? They still rail on her. They still misidentify her intentions of getting the job done for something sinister, because no one trusts her. And I really love the Dr. Smith character, especially by Parker Posey, because she's going through the hero's journey in such a brilliant manner. She's falling down. She's constantly being beaten up, just like the Mandalorian. And slowly you're seeing her persevere through the turmoil of the conflict and drama between the family and the conflict and drama outside of the family, the unifying drama that brings the family together with the Doctor, there's just so much that she's literally climbing a huge mountain to the point where she would maybe be redeemed, possibly. But we don't know what they're going to be doing with the character as future episodes come out. But there's just so much she's clawing her way through the mess.
Stogie brought something up before that I which worries me a little bit for her redeemability, is the fact that she blew the guy out the airlock in season 1. Like her level of sinisterness might be a little too high to be completely redeemable.
Her homicidal nature.
Her homicidal nature, yeah.
I have a question.
It shows through as like she's got serious mental health issues, and no matter what you do, she's not redeemable because those mental health issues have turned her into basically a feral killing machine.
Well, you just can't.
Well,
you just can't
I have a
trust.
question.
Hold on a second. Before we continue, I just have to point out Wolverine is a lovable homicidal character.
Hell no, boy. I have a question.
Go ahead, Chief Cook.
The original and the movie version of Lost Spell. What was the real reason why Dr. Smith came on ship in the first damn place?
He was
stuck on the ship. Like he wasn't supposed to be there.
Both in the 90s and back in the time version.
I know. I understand if he was stowaway. I mean, he had a reason. I mean,
the one in the 90s, he was basically sneaking on because he was like trying to put a bomb or something in there, and I forget what the hell he did, but he tripped something and basically knocked himself out.
He was sabotaging the mission, and the people that hired him sabotaged him to die along with the
That's
mission.
what it was. Thank you.
Mission, yeah.
They they electrocuted him through his communicator.
Okay, I remember that part. Okay, on the original series. Okay, what about the original series?
The original series, basically just the wrong place at the wrong time, and he's just trying to get just.
I don't know, something basically diabolical, like trying to steal something or trying to just inconvenience them. He wasn't really trying to overtly kill them in any way.
No, that's right. There was no ill will
in
towards
those
the family.
days. He was not trying to murder anyone,
Okay,
both aggressively or passive aggressively.
Yeah, this first episode of season 2 is the first time that I kind of actually sort of liked her. I mean, kind of liked her as a character. Before that, you just couldn't trust her. You know, I'm not talking about liked as in like whether I think she's good or not as a character. I mean like liked as in like I feel some kind of empathy for her. Because it seemed like, and again, I still don't trust her, but it seemed like she was at least maybe trying. I think she has ulterior motives, but she's at least trying to help the family, out of I don't know, some sort of maybe just her own need of survival. But she seemed like she was trying to help the family. It's the first time I felt like a little compassion towards the character.
The only way a character like that is ever going to level off is if they have essentially come to the personal conclusion that this family won't harm me so long as I don't harm them, right? And maintain the fact that it is in her benefit not to just randomly stab them in the back because that is her nature. Which is more important to her? Survival or homicide?
Right. Yeah. I totally agree.
Well, let me point something out. Yeah, Dr. Smith's motivation in this series is more of her trying to cover up her mistake, and as she continues to try to do that, she ends up creating a bigger mess for herself and going through the process of covering up a bigger mess that she's created. Yeah. So she's highly motivated for making a tragic mistake.
But that's where she's homicidal, because she'll sit there. The difference between you and I, or I don't mean you and I, me and her, let's just say me and her, or you and I and her, is if we watched one or the other get nearly fatally wounded by something we did, we wouldn't just kick dirt over them and sort of shuffle off and try to not tell anyone about it. right? We will
well,
immediately communicate and try to get them aid. So her reaction to those situations is one of the reasons why she's so dangerous, because she would be like, I'll let somebody die because I don't want to take the blame for hurting them. So I'll just let them die. You know?
well, I have to point out that everyone here is a homicidal maniac. It's just a matter of control.
Well, PlayStation controller, Xbox controller, keyboard. You tell me which one, buddy. I mean, you know.
I don't think there's a hero's journey here for her at all. I've hated her
Wow.
from the first season, and the second season doesn't change my mind. I'm just surprised
Okay.
nobody's stabbed her in the back yet.
Was he gay in real life?
Oh, that guy? Very
I don't
possible.
know.
Yeah. Just say he was.
Very possible.
Possibly. Now, this guy, so it's the original actor for Lost in Space. I thought he had some moments where he was very, very funny. Do you guys see
remember
any
Because
parallels?
the bad guy was a form of comic relief back then,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Because
yeah, oh,
those
yeah.
days, your bad guy wasn't was supposed to be sort of like the boogeyman. You know, you laugh at him, you make jokes about him. They're not real. Right.
Oh my god, Will. Oh my god, robot, you stupid little machine. Oh my god.
Yeah, there you go. See,
Yeah, I mean, it's like
It's
the Caesar Romero's Joker.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and the reality of it
Yes.
is the big concern is that this guy probably would have taken Will off into the bushes.
Oh yeah.
By the way, Adega reminds us that this Dr. Smith, she had addiction, she was sobering up, she had problems she was doing.
Play me the littlest violin.
He had
Yeah.
that look all
You
right.
left that guy
Yeah,
to die. No, I don't care.
Yeah, if she was trying to sort her shit out, she would have just, let them arrest her. I mean, what's the big diff? You're going to be spending the rest of your life on the ship. They're not going to blow you out the airlock. I mean, if they say they're going to blow you out the airlock, well, then fine, blow somebody out an airlock. But it hadn't escalated to that point yet. It wasn't punitive. Like, until you started killing people.
Mhm. Well, she had
But-
one of our,
She'd been
One
killing people from the start, so.
mhm. She had one of our IQ to find a password and do this and do that. So he was genius.
Yeah, I mean, look through the track record. She's a multi-person killer throughout the first series, and
Yeah.
would have allowed more to die. So it's really hard to say, oh, she's redeemable, right? Because this next season, what has it been, like a few months?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think it's 7 months later.
She's learned her lesson. I'm not going to kill anybody this fiscal year.
Oh god.
I'll wait till next fiscal year when they won't notice that I've killed 3 more people. Oh, Jesus.
Bird, you were
I
going to say
want to
something?
make a prediction. I'm going to make a prediction. Prediction.
Prediction?
Yeah, I want to make. If she survived in the third season, what's her name? The mother Robinson, and her. They're going to a bitch fight.
Oh, they
Oh.
kind of already did.
I know. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, a real blood out.
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna kick your ass. Yeah, I think. She
Well,
gonna
I
snap.
don't think they would let that fully unfold. I think what that would turn into is some kind of that Dr. Smith would then acquire just enough technology and say a ship to be able to fuck off and sort of tail them and always be a thorn in their side. Whenever they turn their back, here she is trying to sneak in and steal their shit.
Okay, here's a question: If they really hit a nerve so much, who do you think will kill her? Like the
I think the father would put a bullet in her at any moment.
yeah.
The robot.
The robot. I'm surprised, honestly, that when the robot, kind of switched sides back over, didn't immediately kill
Yeah.
her because it would have had the capacity to make the connection of what just happened
You
there.
had the best motivation. Yeah.
And you just tried to make me kill Will Robinson, and kill Will Robinson's no bueno, and I fucking kill everything that makes,
Yeah.
or tries to hurt Will
I'm surprised
Robinson.
the robot didn't kill her.
It would have. And I think that part of that is the writing. They're like making an excuse. Oh, well, the robot would have just been like, No, the robot wouldn't even have waited for Will Robinson's cue, She'd have been splattered all across the landscape.
She's protected by
What about
plot.
Don-
Otherwise,
Don
she'd be
West,
dead
the
10
mechanic?
times.
Right. They needed the character for for season
Yeah.
2, so they couldn't have killed her off. I mean, she can't be ultimately she can't be redeemed if she's mentally ill. The only way you can be redeemed is first you have to acknowledge and realize that what you were doing was wrong and it was
Be
terrible. And if she's-
rehabilitated.
right. I mean, if there's no way of doing that, she can't truly be redeemed.
And that's not going to happen out on the fly while we're randomly trying to ragtag reset up civilization in some far away we don't know where, because we don't even know where we are.
Yeah, there's too much uncertainty, too much, they're living on edge. I mean, there's no way that there's no stability for her to even realize like, oh my God, maybe what I'm doing is wrong. I just don't see that happening.
Good
You know what?
picture, PJ. Robot would just reach up its hand and just like, I squish you.
Now,
It's over.
All right, let me throw this out.
I'll tell you what.
regarding-
I got one.
Okay, go ahead.
Is
I
that
got
a
one. Okay.
windshield wiper?
Look
Look, I just
Yeah.
realized I'm looking at a windshield wiper.
The rover must be the rover.
Yeah, it's got to be. That's definitely a windshield wiper. It's dirty too.
Okay,
right.
I have one.
Go ahead.
I got it, yo. Okay, say they're trying to lift off and they had too much dead weight on the ship. Who you got to choose between the robot or her? Who you think they want to choose?
Oh, they'd throw her out. They'd throw her out the airlock.
Well, see, here's the catch-22. If they have too much weight inside the ship, the robot can just hoof it outside, brother.
Yeah, but still be attached to the ship, which still adds to the
Yeah,
weight.
still be weighing down the ship.
Theoretically, right? It depends on what you're doing and how
Although-
you're doing it.
What about supply?
If
I'm
they-
talking
But hold on a sec. If the ship's in space, does weight really matter?
It does not.
Yeah, it should be great gravity, right? Zero gravity.
about- let me ask something too. Okay, they don't have enough food. Okay, food, water, supplies, enough for them only.
Well, the robot doesn't need food or water, so
Exactly.
They have somewhat of a replication system, it appears,
Okay, let me throw this out.
or food
Yeah, they'd have
bins.
yeah.
Let me throw this out regarding redemption. Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi at the end, where he throws the Emperor over the pit into the pit, all that stuff. Was he redeemed at that point?
No, because Palpatine never died.
Forget it, Pablo. Forget about
Yeah.
Yeah,
But look at it
Okay,
from
okay,
another
okay,
way,
okay.
George. Like
forget about
Adolf rolls over in his ditch and he says, "I'm sorry."
Okay.
Nobody's redeeming that guy.
Okay.
I mean, Vader was redeemed as much as he died a Jedi's death and redeemed in the eyes of his son. But
he
for
was-
the
he
rest
was
of the
a
galaxy, I'm sure
killer.
they
Father
wouldn't
saved my son.
forgive him. But he was redeemed
Father saved
in
my
the eyes
son.
of his son, and therefore to the audience because we're seeing things through Luke's eyes. So he was redeemed enough, but he also died. He sacrificed himself. It wasn't like so. It depends on what kind of redemption you're talking about. I mean, if she,
Okay, just a
The
straightforward.
father trying to save the son.
No, okay, got it. So basically, what you're saying is, so Darth Vader, in relatively speaking, got redeemed himself for throwing the Emperor over into the pit. Forget about the fan fiction that Disney did. Okay,
He redeemed himself to Luke only.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
nobody's going to be erecting statues to Vader,
Right.
the mass murderer of babies.
yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Those youngling parents are not forgiving him. I find that hard to believe.
They're gonna remember. They're gonna remember Anakin Skywalker save his son Luke Skywalker.
Exactly. So Vader, the mass murderer, is irredeemable.
now,
Like, had he not
dead
died, you're
Darth
saying?
Vader, when they show him back as not Darth Vader, when he's like doing the ghost soul thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's different. That's redeemed. That means he went from the dark side to the light side. So in a more biblical sense, right, his action
Yeah.
was an action of redemption.
Right. Yeah, that's because he was redeemed in the eyes of the Force and in the eyes of Luke, and therefore the audience, through because we see things through Luke's point of view and Luke's eyes. But yeah. So it depends on
He
what
was
you
tricked.
mean.
He was manipulated. He was poisoned
Now,
mentally.
like had Vader not died on the Death Star, had Luke had saved him, and he lived out his life, could he be redeemed through to the galaxy? I don't know. It would take a long time, a long process, and I don't think everyone would accept that. But maybe
they
to
would not.
some.
Darth Vader was a mass genocidal maniac at that point. Like the things he did from his transition of being Anakin to that. Like remember, you're talking like a 30, 40, 50 year older, Anakin.
I don't see
dude,
I don't see Han ever forgiving or trusting Leia around Vader. Even if he turned back.
They're gonna arrest Anakin and hold him charged for they're like in the World War II thing. People arrested him for the Nazi. They're gonna do the same thing. They're gonna bring him to justice, and that's fact.
If they just stepped up on the podium and said, I'm sorry, Hebrew people, nobody's going to be like, oh, they're going to be like, fucking hang his ass.
Yeah, I mean, redemption in the movie, it only goes as far as the audience, So, as an audience, do you feel that this person is redeemed somewhat? So Vader, he was redeemed somewhat because he sacrificed his life for Luke, and Luke was who we were experiencing the trilogy.
It depends on who's the judge, right?
Right. It depends on the judge. Yeah.
If you're looking at it from a biblical sense, the last and greatest act decision of something like that, I suppose in a biblical sense, you can be like, oh, all right, I understand how you're saying he's redeemed because in the end,
you lay down your life.
The thing that totally made it possible for the Empire in this moment to lose.
Right.
Yeah, but still, he murdered Jedi. He did what the Emperor told him to do. And he did this and did that. They're gonna arrest his ass, and Luke got the one that has to bring him in. That's gonna be a hard part.
Yeah, but that's like justice. That's just the price you have to pay for doing what you did. But that doesn't necessarily deal with redemption.
Hey, like a fantasy spin-off world. Here's the thing: I don't feel like Luke would have drug his ass in. I feel like Luke and him would have probably fucked off to nowhere because.
Oh yeah, you're right about that.
He actually did that thing for him. So turnabout's fair play, right? Luke would.
Well, and Luke's whole purpose was to try to redeem him and bring him back. He even tells Leia that, I know there's good in him. I felt it. I can turn him back. So yeah, you're right. I don't think he would have turned him in because the whole purpose of going there was to save him.
So
Bird, you've gotten to working on his mind.
Bird, you were going to say something, Bird?
So he was probably.
I was going to say a hard one to determine if he was redeemed or not would be Damar from Deep Space Nine. I don't know.
Say
how
that again.
Say it again. I can hear you, Bert. Say it again.
Damar from Deep Space Nine.
Oh yes.
Gul Dukat. That's somebody who would have a hard time saying one way or not if he was redeemed completely.
But that's a hard one, though.
That's what I'm saying. It's a hard one.
What did you say? I can hear him.
Out of nowhere, when he goes and turns on the Dominion, that was a tide changer. So there's weird.
You mean Gul Dukat or Lamar?
No, Damar.
Damar, thank you.
Cuckoo nuts.
Okay,
Damar.
Okay.
Yeah, you're correct.
Mm-hmm.
That you're right. That in-house trend. Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally different.
That's what I'm saying. That'd be a hard one for me to say, because he might have been totally redeemed.
Yeah, but it's like that saying, just following orders is not a good enough excuse.
Guys, let me bring this back. Again to and let me ask you guys another question. So the rumor is that Bill Mummy as the real Dr. Smith is going to be integrated, and his character is going to be developed. Is that something we should look forward to?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I don't see how it's.
Oh yeah, she'll come back and find out he's still alive, and this lady take my identity, and all hell gonna break loose. Yeah.
You know, maybe Mummy's Dr. Smith is actually more evil than Dr. Smith that we got.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That would be an awesome.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have two people working together.
Maybe he's the one who will kill her.
Or maybe it's like this secret war between the two Smiths, and the Robinsons are just not really paying attention because there's drama, external drama that they have to face.
No. I got a better idea. Both of them come in and say, "No, I'm Dr. Smith. No, I'm the real Dr. Smith." And since she erased everything of his identity, how are they gonna find out who is the real Dr. Smith?
Well, also, how the heck is he gonna find them? Where was he was left on Earth right before she left?
No, he on a ship. He was on a ship.
Oh, he was
He
on
was
the
Resolute.
He was on ship sleep.
Oh, he's
Yeah,
on the
Sleep on the ship.
The Resolute, that's it. That's the name of the ship.
yeah.
So
the
he
Resolute.
should already
Okay.
have found her, to be honest. If he's
And
alive.
she came in and stole his cue card, and he was out. And put him back out.
Oh
Put him
yeah,
back to sleep.
that's right. That's right. He was
No matter what she does to erase, anything she's done, which is going to be addressed in season 2, she tries to erase evidence. No matter what she does, he is still on the ship.
If he didn't kill her off, if he didn't kill her, because I think he killed her.
I thought he was dead.
no.
Well, I guess not.
She just in the first season she just created a fake identity called Dr. Smith. In the second season, she was trying to create a real identity, and then she found a similar name, Dr. Smith, and that's where she went to the trouble of wiping the records and making it look like she's
No. She found Dr. Smith in the name, and she thought he was a psychiatrist, and she thought she was a failed psychiatrist herself, so she took his name out of that. She was already Dr.
Yeah,
Smith.
that's right. Yes.
Well,
she
there's no way
already-
the family's gonna if it came down to like a who's the real Dr. Smith. There's no way they're gonna trust her because they already don't trust her.
Yeah, but like I said, she showed his identity, and she erased everything. How they
I
gonna
don't
find out
think he
who's
was
the
a
real Dr. Smith?
psychologist. I think she
They didn't do that.
chose psychologist because that's all she knew. Because she'd been
She come
going.
out and say, "No, she stole my identity." No, you stole my identity. I'm the real Dr. Smith. No, I'm the real Dr. Smith.
Go ahead, Bird.
It's
So
right.
I said I don't think he was a psychologist. I think she chose psychologist because that's what she knew.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Looking at that
He's
picture,
a medical doctor,
Yeah, he's
and
got like a stethoscope there.
you put two medical doctors in the room together, they're immediately going to know which one is and isn't the other medical doctor. You get me?
Yeah.
Yeah, but once, like she said, one's a shrink and one's a doctor.
and she'd been
No,
going straight her whole life.
she's a false shrink.
Yeah,
Dr. Smith probably is not a shrink, considering that he's got a stethoscope around his neck. I have never seen a psychiatrist ever with one of those.
exactly.
I
That's
have-
what I'm saying.
Hear your thoughts.
But like I said, that's what I'm saying. She won't come out and say, I'm a real doctor. I got a PhD in psychology and something. And who is
Yeah.
this doctor? He's just a plain old doctor.
Well, because if you said you're a medic, and one of the reasons why she said she wasn't a medical doctor and she was a psychiatrist is because, if I recall, that was a cover to not helping somebody who was medically injured. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not that kind of doctor, kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So,
And plus Penny is a medical doctor. She can
And
say,
also, a medical doctor wouldn't have sat back and watched things happen. A medical doctor would have been first responder to the situation.
exactly.
So she's totally, again, if you put a medical doctor being the daughter and this Dr. Smith, the medical doctor, in a room together, they're immediately going to be able to sort each other out and be like, oh, you're another medical doctor. I can hear it in the things that you actually know versus this lady who don't know shit.
One thing I know about her, she's able to sit, she'll talk to you for a couple minutes and find your weakness already. If she manipulates, she can find, she'll tell me what's wrong with you, and she can find she can find your weakness, and she'll manipulate that weakness, that weakness, and to gain her strength, and so she can get what she want out of you, like she did West.
Survival,
Yeah, like she did Don West. She told the one, "You're gonna help me whether you like it or not." And that thing. No one got wet, so she knows something about him.
Hey man, thanks for having me on, but I got to get going.
Bird, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it.
No problem. Take care, guys.
Nice
Have a good
talking to you.
night.
Have a good one, Bird. Good chatting.
See that, Bert? I couldn't hear you.
All right. Now, we talked about a lot of little things. Okay, now here's the elephant in the room regarding this whole thing. While this entire effort is to recolonize onto another planet, the crazy thing that's all this sort of leaves open is that, you know what, there's a whole lot of planets between Earth and that new planet. You know, they could have easily colonized Mars, terraformed Mars. They could have easily terraformed any of the moons on Jupiter. They could have. There's just so many watering holes, so to speak, between Earth and where they're supposed to be going, Alpha Centauri.
Well, God's honest truth, with the level of technology that they had, they really don't. I don't really think they would have even needed a planet. You get me? Like, they easily could have gone out into the belt system and just started making metal worlds. Remember in the old Gundam animations that people were living in these almost Babylon 5 like colonies.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
You hit the nail on the head. Exactly. They have the resources. I mean, the heck, they're using impossible resources to get to a whole different system.
Exactly.
And
And if you have that ability, you can make an almost unimaginable amount of stuff before you have to go that far.
Or they just found another planet just like Earth and say, "Hey, we just found another Earth, and so we don't have to do any terraforming and just go here." And
well, I mean, look at it this way, right? Like Mars is kind of messed up, but given the power scope, right, that we're talking about that these people actually possess, that's not too far off from being capable to do some form of, planet control. So
the question is, how long will it take? That's a question. How long will it take?
Not as long as, flying from one planet to a whole different galaxy.
Right. And even when they get to these other places, right, they have to still build all these structures that you would have to build on like a Mars or all these other places. Like we're talking pressurized, semi-fortified, I'm imagining, at least if it was me, I would.
Yeah. Make sure you got water and good soil.
Right. Basic elements, atmosphere that if you don't have enough atmosphere to breathe, say on the outside, that there's enough base elements to convert so you can sustainably create atmosphere on the inside,
That's right. And just like Babylon 5, they create a horticultural system where the plants actually generate needed oxygen. So it becomes
correct
perpetual.
Or it can be like that costume series back in the day, Exo Squad, where they call it
Exo
Mars.
Squad. Oh my God, I love that stuff.
Yeah, where they colonized Mars already.
You just became my new favorite person.
Yeah, and they created what a human called super god. What the hell they call themselves? Subhuman. What they call them? Big blue green, little 6 foot, 7 foot blue.
Yeah, I know. I remember the people you're talking about. That sort of like became the bad guys as well.
Yeah. But like I said, it should have went to Mars first. But why after security? That's the real question. If they're gonna really colonize, they could have colonized Mars first. Well, Mars already colonized.
You got to think of it like, okay, right? The human race essentially seems to be a parasite. If you're looking at it from like, if you're looking at if you were God, right? Or something on that level of scale of vision or scope. The human race seems to be a parasite. It does not want to go anywhere that's too terribly hard, right?
Exactly.
Mars, one of the many things that are, the orbital bodies out there, the moons, the Eroses, these other places where we could easily just like, whether it's a mining colony or whatever, we could build some stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
We
I think that's what I'm
We
saying.
want to
I think
go to these Alpha Centauris or these perfect blue worlds because it's like the parasite jumping from one host organism to the next host organism, right? It wants optimal conditions to breed and thrive quickly.
We're
We're always trying to find. We're always trying to find our Eden, Garden of Eden.
And
you're right.
it sounds crazy, right? But we're basically walking, vehicles for bacteria. So you could keep thinking about that on an escalating scale of thought and life.
Yeah, that's true. Because I guarantee you right now, if we found another Earth today, I guarantee we would start saying, hey, let's go to that planet right now.
If we found
forget about-
another Earth today, right, and it was in range, it would not matter if there was another civilization more advanced on that planet. We would try to effing kill it so that we could live there too.
No, I don't think we're trying to kill it. I think we're trying to get that.
It's funny, like every alien invasion movie, we're always worried about the aliens who are trying to inhabit our planet and take us over. But is it the other way around?
Our entire history is of us being pricks
Conquerors.
and invading shit,
You mean like,
biologically warfaring each other. So the first thing that we're going to have to do when we show up is like, warning, we're a biological hazard. Do you have medical? Do you
Danger.
complex things like this?
Okay, you know what? Regarding finding another planet, I'll just call it right now for the human race. I call it. It's my planet.
No, you mean like that? What's that?
Mud Planet.
George.
There's gonna be a lot of monster trucks on Mud Planet. We gonna get down.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you saying we act like those guys on an Avatar come down there and do that crap, or we gonna go?
I think that was the most accurate aspect of that movie because look at how the human race treated the natives everywhere, every single time. There was never a situation where we were nice. It was just different degrees of assholery, from slightly less of an asshole to extreme assholery.
Well,
I don't know.
if
I
you
don't think
want-
that. I think
Maybe
I think-
the French were actually some of the least pricky
all right, you know what? On a technical level,
up there in Canada. They were the least barbaric, but their natives still,
okay.
they didn't have it great either.
On a technical level, just technical level, the human species on the planet Earth is the only destructive species. Every other species on the planet actually lives with the planet. Secondly, and here's the crazy thing: the majority of the human race lives in an environment that is closer to, our comfort level. So what does that mean? About 70% of the planet is still, you can still colonize 70% of the planet, even though we have 7 billion people.
I
on
wouldn't
the
give
planet.
that 100%, George. I would say the only exception that I would make to what you're saying is that mammals have proven a degree of destructiveness that also has an equal level of creativity. So whereas creative and problem solving, as much as we are, against our own survival and destructive. And I mean that in things like mice,
roaches,
the baboons, monkeys.
roaches.
Well, the roaches aren't mammals, but
Oh, okay. Yeah,
there's a sort of form of higher intelligence on this planet over other animals. Clearly, it's not just a breeding thing, but mammals have, in my opinion, more intelligence.
Yeah, but still,
Let me just welcome Adega, guys.
What's up, buddy?
We have
You
another
guys are so far off. I couldn't sit in the chat any longer. You guys are nuts.
Guys, I got to take off before you get into this next segment of Adega railing on how bad we are. How incorrect.
We'll call this.
Okay.
PJ, thanks for having me on. Guys, it was nice talking to all you guys and meeting some of you for the first time.
Okay.
Thanks for hanging out, Final. Have a great
Bye.
night.
See you guys later.
Take it easy, brother.
See ya.
Long and prosper.
Diego, let's get your first thoughts on. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen it?
I saw the first season. I haven't got into the second season yet.
Did you enjoy the first season?
I did, and I found you guys were talking an awful lot about the Doctor, and I am with George because I have been a doctor for many years, and I have seen so much that so many people can do, and so many bad things that people do under drugs. When she's off of the drugs or weaning off, yes, she can be redeemable. That's scientific fact. That's why people commit suicide when they're on a lot of medications that they wouldn't do otherwise, or
Yeah,
why
but
they go out and
scientific fact hasn't got
Just
shit to do
sorry,
with legal fact.
you're wrong on this one.
The law
You're-
would never have deemed her rehabilitated.
Actually, it has happened in other countries, not just ours. And yes, it has.
Well, that
So
may,
you guys are wrong on that one.
well, that may be a medical fact, but you know what? In science fiction, I don't know. That's the whole fiction.
Hey, listen, I'm from New Jersey. There's a lot of old hitmen that apparently have gone out, done enough of their time that they're allowed to walk the street and stuff. And some would say that they're redeemed. But ain't a goddamn thing about them redeemed, boys, right? They're just.
I know of quite a few of people who went through the Vietnam War and did some really terrible things that they should not have done, and yet they are productive people in society now. They live with guilt. They live with a lot of problems, and yet they're not homicidal maniacs anymore, taking bets on how many places they can, or orifices they could shoot their gun through without leaving a mark on a body. These people are among us, and they don't kill anymore.
So I think, Diego, you bring up a good point, and let me ask this question, because I think this is the true nitty grit of the question: is can the audience ever perceive them as redeemed?
It depends on how it's written. It definitely. I mean, we have a lot of weak writers in Hollywood right now, and it all depends on how it's written. You know, if the right set of circumstances are put into place, if the story is believable and congruent, yeah, it could be done. Because I'm just one doc, but there are a lot of people out there that know these stories. I'm not the only one. And there will be enough people that can go out there and say, you know what, I've heard of something like this before, or that makes sense. You know, it all depends on the writing. If they just slap stuff together like they do on all the, not all the shows, but most of the shows together and say, hey, look, it's good because it's this or it's that, and you got to like it. No, you don't. But if they have a good writer at it, yeah, absolutely. And about colonizing other worlds, I think we do a pretty dang good job of taking care of our planet as it is. We haven't nuked the snot out of us. You know, we have a lot of preservation. Even our own government sets up national reserves and national parks, and we try and do what we can. There have been failures, but that doesn't mean that we've eliminated ourselves yet. We've been doing pretty good.
No, but we eliminated the others. I think
you got to be careful how you do that, because I hear this story all the time, and I know the facts of it. When they say, "Oh, the others killed this group or that group," they talk about the British where they went and colonized.
The Indian nations would.
I am Native American. I am Native American. I know what I'm talking about. I talked with these people. Now, just here's a prime example. You go to India, and you go back when the East Trading Company, Tea Company, and different groups from Britain were colonizing, going there. The reason why the colonization started there was because those people in India were butchering each other all the time. They were very tribal. The only reason why law and society came there was because the British came in and settled it. It wasn't because they were imperialist. It was because they wanted to trade with the same group of people. And it worked.
Yeah, no, that's not even the history that they tell.
Actually, it is the history. I don't know where you're picking your stuff up of, because that is the history.
That is the history.
The history of English colonization is one of force for the sake of force. Make the world England was the motto.
Wow, you went to the wrong college, buddy. You went to the wrong college.
I didn't.
Well, I think you're trying to say.
There we go.
In the beginning, in the beginning, then
I
but
didn't
they
know you
turn
were a
around.
Snobadega.
Yep.
I think they tried in the beginning. There was an idea first, but now and changed it. So he's right. What's your name? I get over. He's right. So, but because as an African American who our history, slavery and all, colonized as well, and both the Eastern Europe and Eastern Africa and other countries like that. That's what they did. But I don't think we want to go and see another planet and say we're going to take over this planet. I don't think that's not going to happen. I think
Guys, let me bring this back. Let me bring this back in a little bit, and I want to ask, because Adega just joined us. I want to ask him as a writer, what did you think about the fact that Penny? Judy. So Judy is her father was an astronaut who was killed, and so John Robinson is her stepdad. How do you think about that incorporation into the? Did you like the way they did that?
I did.
Like
I did. I like the original Judy, but I like the way that they did it. I don't think all the characters are written as well as they could be, but it adds a dimension that they wouldn't have had otherwise. When the original series was on, she was kind of one-dimensional, but it was a kid's show, like you guys had said. It was designed for kids. It was very much a kid's show. With this other one, at first when I saw, well, Judy is not the Judy I remember, and then I started watching the show, and there are like I said, there's weaknesses in there in the writing, but I think the person who came up with the idea had a good idea, and over time maybe they can develop it a little better. When I first started watching the show, and I'm with some of the other guys, it seemed like they were doing like a lot of shows where they're just pissing all over the men. But they worked through that. I think over time they're going to be able to, express more of that. Now, that's not just it. There was a lot of animosity between everybody in there. And it was just a vehicle to show that, these people started off as a very sucky family or broken family, and over time they're starting to meld better. And if that was the original,
the broken family stuff, like I had no issues with any of that.
Well, the only issue I had with it is we see it so much on so many different shows, and it just kind of gets tiring. It's kind of a
call to the veterans out there who are sort of walking around with a lot of potential broken families. Like maybe they're trying to relate to a crowd they perceive as their viewer.
Well, that's one of the story tropes that everyone in the hero's journey is the orphan, removed from society, removed from the family, removed from the friends, and venturing on their own and persevering. That happens constantly, and this orphan, so to speak, element in this story is no different regarding the hero's journey.
I agree with you. I agree with you too, Stogie. It's just a broken system that over time I think they're going to show them build together. And I hope, because it looks like this is what they're doing, is they're taking a family that is really dysfunctional from point A and bringing them to point Z, where they're all respecting and working with each other.
Well, they always did try to do that. I think I remember that always being a general theme. Even though the original one was hokey and childish, it kind of was trying to do that. The second one, it was much more emphasized that they were making a group journey together to, kind of overcome their family issues.
And mother calling all the shots. I know best. Mothers know best.
I think the big difference, though, about number 2 was, and when I say number 2, I mean second generation of this.
The movie?
That movie with, they were all the kids were all forced. None of them were really into it.
Right.
None of them wanted to leave. Except for maybe Will. I think Will might have been into it because he was like super tech space boy. But I remember the daughters being like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, see, the daughters, I
We got
think, in that
lives.
one were more believable, but
Yeah,
the
one of them had
kid,
a
you Super Space Boy, the way you said it, I think is kind of appropriate. I
He
didn't like the way
Elroy
they wrote
Jesse.
him.
He was Super Space Boy #1, whose father was like Mr. Fantastic without all the stretchy nonsense. And he just wouldn't pay attention to me because he's so busy doing his thing and I'm #1 and hey, Dad, look at me.
Right. I can see that being a kind of a possibility, but I think they took it too much for that movie. But getting back to the one that we're going over now, I think it's something we're just going to have to watch over seasons, to see how it develops. It may still just be too early to figure out who these people are.
I agree. Well, because it's they squeeze a lot of information in really fast in a 2-hour movie, so it's understandable that they would have scenes of overemphasized doubt, right? The kid being concerned, oh, I think I'm great, but maybe I'm not so great. Oh, we need you to be great. Can you just do it, please? And that translating into this new character's doubt, but they overemphasized it, I think, by trying to say that he's actually a failure, right? So now we have a flawed Super Space Boy.
Yeah, Dan's a failure. Wheel's a failure, and Don West, mechanic, is a failure. And so Mom and Julie and what's the other girl name? We got saved today.
It's like if all these people are crap, what the hell are they doing in space? And this organization seriously needs to check it.
Here's something that I think this may parallel pretty well. If the writing is good, like you say, well, the women come and save the day, but they don't necessarily. They try and take charge, but they still have to rely upon each other.
Yeah,
I think you're onto something, right? One of the problems with the writing is I'll give you an example. I grew up in an all-female household. You know what? In my experience, when a woman charged off to save the day, she actually saved the day on her own. And she got to be an independent hero.
Yeah, but still, you have 3 guys there, especially ones in the military, who got some skills how to save the day and get us out of her. They don't listen to him whatsoever.
Well, if it's written to a point to where that the resentment and the barriers and the self-reliance starts to break down among them and they start trusting each other, then I would say that was a really, really well-written program, even if it did take 2 or 3 seasons to come through. But if it doesn't and they keep up this, but here, if you took any family in our society, or most families, and you stuck them in a situation like they're at, not many of them would work very well. They would be panicked. They wouldn't have the skills. They wouldn't have the emotional fortitude. It would be very, very difficult.
If they survive the first 12 to 24 hours,
yes,
they have
exactly,
a shot.
Exactly.
Okay, here's this. Here's this. Okay, so like you're a family and you start to take your kids to camping, and you got there camping, you walk around.
Camping's different, right? Remember, you can just pack it all back in the wagon and fuck off.
Wait, no, I'm talking about, okay, what happens? You get lost and somehow run out of food. Who they gonna blame? They're gonna blame Dad because he pure all this. Now here these guys are. They got in space. They got lost. Everything going wrong. And who they blame? They don't blame no one.
Well,
even though this is Mom's fault, because Mom, it was her idea. Like she did Will. She changed the test.
To give you an example though, from an all-female, like I used to call it the gynocracy, right? Because all the women were adults. I didn't have any say in nothing. I was a hostage. But
look right
there was no man for me to blame, so it's not abnormal for me to accept that there's going to be a woman in a semi-all-woman situation who's going to be to blame here, right? Like that's okay. People can be.
And also you have to consider there is a real valid point in the show where he was off doing his military service. She had to run the home and work and be in charge, and that's just what she was used to. So the resentment, the animosity, that's kind of understand. I don't like those situations. It bothers me to see it on film. But just like Stogie said, that is real in a lot of ways.
That's the part, though, unfortunately, where I think they're trying to relate to veterans with negative stereotypes. right? They're trying to relate to them. Oh, you have some kind of emotional baggage from your service. Oh, the wife's probably angry with you, and the kids probably don't even know your name because you spend so many tours away from home. And not all of them were because you had to. Some of them were because, you just, it's like being in prison, sort of, that psychological recidivism. Once you're used to being in the program, you don't want to leave the program or your men.
Now I'm gonna give you a little bit of personal. My parents were much, much older, and I'm what basically called the second family, because my youngest, oldest sibling is 16.
60s.
My next oldest sibling is 16 years older than me. Some of them are in their 70s. It was a huge difference. They weren't even home when my parents adopted me. And my older siblings always looked at my dad as this monster. And I grew up knowing my dad. I went on campouts with them. We worked together in the yard. But when they were growing up, he was busting his hump to pay for everything that they needed. And some days they wouldn't see him for days at a time. He even went down to Colombia and worked for a few years just to make sure they were fed. And when they saw him, they didn't understand him, and it was a problem. And I could see similarities in this family where they didn't see him because he was away. But when I grew up knowing him, sorry, I still miss my dad. It's family dynamic that they're trying to write. I guess some of the writers, I don't know how many writers they have. Some of them will understand it and put it in. Other people won't understand it and monkey with the system a little bit. But I think overall, as much as I don't like seeing families like this, I think it's kind of in the right direction.
Well, families of conflict are more natural than not. I mean, really, the lie is that everybody's happy, right? That everybody is what we see on Facebook. That's the negative aspect of it's a perfect world social media thinking, right? Like the best foot forward image isn't actually the sum of reality, right? It's just how we are perceived at our bests.
Let me just go back to George saying that he sees the multi-season story arc. You see it very clearly, George, right from the beginning. It's a multi-season story arc.
Yeah, the first season felt more like an epilogue. Season 2 felt like the first act. There wasn't really a build-up in season 1. There wasn't really a punch moment at the end. But in season 2, when the ending was a punch, and that leads, then logically, season 3 would be the hero's journey would be the wanderer. So it's the pattern here is it looks like they're literally following the pattern of the hero's journey.
I agree completely.
And the interesting thing about this is that, while we have all these woke productions out there, including on Netflix, it's really refreshing to see Lost in Space actually, kind of teeter on the line between woke and not woke. You can look at it with biased eyes and say, well, the women are powerful and the men are idiots. Yay for feminism. And
I think everybody, honestly though, I have to admit, I think a lot of this new woke, anti-woke culture, everybody's just being a little too goddamn sensitive. I mean, if we ripped up everything we ever watched through the 90s, right, in this new culture now and said it was brand new now, dude, we would be ripping people left, right, and center for the shenanigans that they pull. And I'm not talking about just the dudes. Like, there are plenty of characters that have been overbearing because this writer or that producer this week feels that they should be this way or that way, right? And I feel like maybe a lot of that woke shit's getting taken too far. Like, people are allowed to realize that, hey, it's a good idea to kick pedos and predators out of the industry, right? Like, we don't want them. We don't. And I'm sorry, like, if movies have to change a little bit so people aren't being, like, passively molested in some corner or some dark alley somewhere, I'm okay with that. Do I want them to be ruined? Do I want characters to be sex changed? No, I absolutely don't want that. But I do believe that powerful characters should be written and written well, you know, and we shouldn't necessarily be so sensitive to them having a flaw that we may be the only ones perceiving. You know what I mean?
I think part of and I see your point, and I'm not arguing with it. The only thing that I'm saying is, and this is for the part of the people that a lot of them call them haters or different things, and sometimes I agree with them, is there is a culture that is established in not just in society or different countries or whatever, but there's a culture established in books, in music, in television, or movies. And when some outsider comes in and buys that culture and tells you, now you have to live by our culture and we're changing yours, it's not easy for those people to take it. One of the worst examples
is the easiest example.
One of the worst examples of the outcome, not necessarily the story, was I think his name was Akhenaten in ancient Egypt. I may have the name wrong, but I know the story.
No, you got the name right.
When he became Pharaoh, he stopped the worship of all the multiple gods and said, I have the power. Now you're just going to worship this one. And the people
he was a one god leader.
Yeah, the people hated it. And when he was gone, they wiped out everything he did. And a lot of the culture that is being forced upon other people's culture, including some of mine, because I don't like what happened to Star Wars. I don't like what's happening to Star Wars.
Oh, no, but Star Wars is bad.
But but here's the thing.
Holy crap.
And I mentioned this with PJ before. There were once upon a time a guy named George Lucas, and once upon a time a guy named Tolkien. And before then, those cultures didn't exist, and now they do. It only takes one person to right the ship, and we can ride this out. Whether it's, it's sane minds like we're doing now here, talking. I may have gotten animated.
Billionaire to trillionaire corporations.
It doesn't matter.
Buy intellectual properties after somebody's gone. There is no finality in anyone's work anymore. You understand? And that's where I'm sort of disagreeing with only a little bit of what you're saying.
But here's the thing. It still doesn't matter because you're working with someone who is doing something that's happening all around the world. Not just Meta, not just Alec. They're starting a whole new ship. One thing that happened in the 80s, 7-Up was having a hard time competing with Coke and Pepsi. They just couldn't do it. And some genius came along and he said, you know what? Why are you competing with them? Make a new ladder. They're at the top climbing the Coke or the cola ladder. You become the Uncola. And boom, it took off. It's the same thing with anything else. They may be buying up they may have the money. They may have different things. You can look at J.K. Rowling. She was a poor woman telling stories to her kids, and she made a whole new community. It just takes the right amount of.
You have to understand that what I'm saying to you is, a person like J.K. for a time would have made something. Let's say J.K. existed in the 18th century and not the, what are we, 21st now? Her works at the end of her life would have come to a conclusion. There would have been a finality to it. Now in the 21st century, everyone's work is theoretically open-ended because if a corporation can purchase it, there is no finality. there is no copyright law really in this country that says that anything comes to any reasonable end in anyone's lifetime.
Yeah, that's what pisses a lot of people off. But the thing is there's always a new ladder. There's always, I mean, you look at what George is doing. You know, you got the comics gate and all the problems that comics are doing through. And he said, screw you guys, I'm going to make my own. You know, it just.
Well, that's the whole thing that I'm doing with Paul, really. You know,
exactly.
it's
And you guys are
through
destined for success.
all these other guys that keep, you know, either just being dirty or whatever, and we're going to do it our own way.
Right.
And I really sort of tap into that energy of independent labels, you know, independent music, the whole shtick that they've been running for a long time. We all creators need to pick up on that and evolve, because we don't need labels anymore. We don't need people sucking, you know, our energy and our profits away.
Right.
I agree. Go ahead.
No, we've been keeping you out for a while, Chef. Go for it. Or Chief.
Okay, I agree. You're absolutely right, because as African American, you know, I don't want to see things change. Change like a Black James Bond, or it don't make no sense. Make your own, thing.
I didn't mind that. I was actually looking forward to the possibility of Idris being James Bond.
Yeah, but the problem by James Bond, Black James Bond, is you got to put. I said this to Anna Tracker and other agents, other people, including.
Well, my understanding is that the name James Bond was as much a call sign as 007.
No, the problem is there's a certain group of people who would not like the idea of have a black guy in bed with a white woman, and it's today, especially in Hollywood, because Hollywood now is
Well, you and I both know that those
women.
people need to fucking
white man with black women. You're not gonna see that.
stop showing the overt racism, you know, and then they need to learn to accept people for who and what they are, and let them be what they are.
Before we get back on topic, I just want to say, who are the people that are really upset about that? It's the media pointing this out. It's the news. It's these subverses that are sitting there, and the people on Twitter who don't represent more than 2% of it. The vast majority of the people don't care. I mean, even in the 60s, they had Kirk kissing Uhura, and people thought, cool.
Yeah, but...
And dude, I thought Idris would have been fucking badass. Dude, he could have pulled that shit off so hard.
The only thing about
James Bond can sleep with any woman in God's green earth, a green or a woman from a Star Trek, and nobody won't say anything about it. Nobody gonna get mad.
Well, James slept with a black woman. The older James had slept with a black woman,
and that's a fact. People is not going.
So I mean, there's definitely been that connection. It I don't know. I
think the racism is overhyped.
Yeah,
Chief. Chief, I want to go back to something that you said before. You felt that the Judy change was kind of tokenism and maybe wasn't necessary. Is that what you said before?
No, it's Judy. Is that the new lady?
Yeah, Judy was the oldest daughter, who she's like half white, half black. Can you hear me, Chief? Did we lose you?
We may have lost him.
Hopefully I didn't torque him. I've been torquing everybody tonight. I apologize, but I'm kind of animated tonight.
There we go. Starting to hear him again.
Can you hear me? Can you hear us, Chief?
I can barely hear you. Hold on a second. My Wi-Fi is going crazy. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, there we go.
Technical difficulties.
I can hear you now.
It's going skipping back and forth.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I see Nano Reaper. He's, everyone says the noble savages were such wonderful people. And trust me, I'm Native American. But before the natives were here, there was what's called the Hopewell, which were wiped out by the natives. Before the Hopewells were here, there were the Adinas, which were wiped out by the Hopewell. They've been butchering each other back and forth for years.
I'm not disacknowledging the fact that that's built into a human civilization, but not to dive into it too deep. But there's only one, if we're really calling the color of one's skin a race, there's only one race on this planet that has a mutually agreed destruction pact. If any other culture should take over, be it one or the other, or generally anything else, between us and the Russians, whether it's this form of Christianity or that form of Christianity, we've got a mutually assured destruction.
I don't think it has to deal with
We're a bit crazier
with that.
than
I think it has to deal with people wanting power. It doesn't matter what color,
what's
race, or
absolute
creed.
power. Yes.
Yeah, because I mean,
Power
look at
is not
China.
good
They
enough.
killed over
Power.
the communists in China killed over 6 million of their own people just to starve them. So it's not particular to anything other than the human race.
Well, and what's
And-
crazy to think about it is, though, if you compare 6 million people against the general population of China, that's like nothing.
Guys, I want to go ahead and ask George this question. What did you think about them? Any comments on them turning the spaceship into a seaworthy vessel?
Yeah, that was a great gag. Gone back to the original series.
Oh,
Right.
God, is that what I'm
Yes,
looking
it
at?
did.
Yes, this
Yep.
thing has sails on it, doesn't it?
That's what it is.
They did that back in
It didn't register at first.
I thought it was a great gag of the original series. They did that in the original series. They did it with the car. What do you call that? The vehicle, the rover. They did it with the rover
Yeah.
in the original
They had a
series.
different name for it, but yeah.
Yeah, but it was such a great gag. I mean, it was just beautiful. You know, they're pulling all the right elements out of the original series and just making them awesome.
And I want to welcome Denali. Is it?
Well, thank you. Yes, Denali.
Welcome, Denali. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for inviting me onto the show.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, what was your initial take on season 2, episode 1?
Season 2, episode 1. I'm still digesting it. I mean, it has improved from season 1, so I'm liking the potential of what's going on. It seems a little bit more fun than season 1 was, so I'm kind of glad the direction it's going with on that end. Let me see. So,
Hi, you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you now, Chief Cook.
Yeah,
Yep.
sorry about that. My sci-fi sucks here.
So, Chief Cook, let me just go back to that question I was asking you. You felt the inclusion or the fact that Judy was from a different father? You felt that incorporation of her being half black? Do you think that was not necessary? You were saying before.
I don't think he's got it resolved yet.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear us? We can hear you.
I can hear you.
on the
I can
mic
barely
there,
hear you, but I
Chief.
can hear you a bit. It's getting in and out a little bit. But I can... Hear me now?
Can you hear us, Chief?
I can hear you.
Awesome. Can you hear what? PJ? Can you hear PJ?
Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Chief, can you hear PJ?
Can you
Yeah,
hear
I'm
me?
here.
I think it's having that problem like you had with Paul the other night, PJ, where
Yeah.
Chief can't
Hold
hear
on a
you.
second. Try one more time.
All right, I'll
Repeat
translate
yourself.
PJ's question. PJ, what's the question?
So he felt that the new Judy was kind of tokenism, and so I just wanted to kind of to let him express himself on that.
Okay.
Real
did you
quick,
think-
just wanted to say I totally agree with that last statement, Anna Reaper. I'm not a big fan of them always showing veterans as broken, with broken families.
Gotcha.
Okay, this question is to Chief, Chef. Sorry. What do you think about Judy? Was it tokenism, or what's your feelings about it?
Well, I think it's Julie the token.
Yeah, it was a tokenism, or what was your feelings about the story element regarding Judy?
Oh crap!
I think there's something going on in the background there. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Regarding the feelings, the feeling that season 1 and season 2 gives you, were you bored? I mean, just because there was a huge slow pace in season one. Was anyone really bored with season one, or did it have enough elements that made you interested in watching? Because everyone here watched season one, so that means something in season one sparked a return to see the next episode and the next episode all the way to episode 10. So if you were bored, why did you stick through to all 10 episodes?
So I'll put a caveat. I was really bored. Me and my dad were really bored when we watched season one. And I'll put it in this frame. The pacing was kind of, like you mentioned, George, really slow, and it was too grounded, which is kind of weird to say. It's like, how can something be too grounded? But there was, when we think about the original Lost in Space, there's some fantastical element to it that the first season kind of was lacking, that kind of fantastical and heart thing. From the very get-go, we kind of didn't really connect with the family. So that also made it kind of hard to kind of watch the first season without feeling bored, because we didn't have that interconnection. You know, they had these issues, these problems, and we're like, they don't feel like a real family at all. And that was the main comment that me and my dad were saying as we were watching, compared to like the original series, that, yeah, you can tell these actors felt like a real family, regardless of their being defunct, you know, and all the separate complication. But in this one, it just felt like they were always bickering, and the moments that, you know, the show tried to, you know, make them like a family kind of didn't really feel earned by the end of those respective episodes. So on the second part is I'm still watching season 2, so I haven't finished season 2 yet. So it's just a, you know, step by step, because I'm kind of getting into the, you know, getting to the groove of it. And there is, I think they did recognize the weakness of season 1 and are improving on it. So I'm happy about that as well. So, and I'll see what the season 2 will, you know, end of season 2 will be in store of it, if it continues, you know, with what's going on with episode 1 and episode 2 kind of deal.
I don't know if you heard George and I talking just a couple minutes ago, but did you notice after going through 1 and starting going into 2, George and I kind of sense, and don't let me lead you on to an answer, whatever you feel, that it is a whole story arc that they're building on. You take point A with this dysfunctional, really hard to get to know family because they just piss each other off, and then they're building into something else. Do you notice that, or is it not? You think it's just coincidence, or they're trying to correct old errors?
I think that if they're going for the latter, which is, I feel that they're correcting error, because the first season didn't really have that feeling of an overarching arc. To say, hey, you know, this is going to be, it's the same issue that happened with Terra Nova, where you want to feel happy, you know, you want to be involved with the family, but you never quite got there where you really cared about the family enough. It was too much about everything else except for the family. And the same thing happened with season 1. Season 2, there's a little bit more focus on the family, which I'm appreciating. And I think if they continue on that route of, you know, maybe it's what you said, it's going to be a season, you know, an arc where eventually we get there. But if the family isn't if the audience isn't invested in the family, I love it. It doesn't matter what you throw at the family; they're just not going to care. And that's how, you know, if season 2 corrects that and actually makes us care for it. Just listening, you know, about Judy's storyline about Tokoism, that Judy isn't really part of the family and all that stuff. You know, if it's handled correctly, if the execution of that storyline is, you know, it doesn't really matter who you come from. I'm still your father, kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy. He may be your daddy, but I'm your father kind of deal. If they go in that route, I think it won't matter if it's Judaism tokenism or anything. It's just, like I said, it depends on how the storyline goes, and as I'm watching the next couple episodes, and just kind of digesting and thinking about it, I can give you a more proper answer. But I hope, it's the case, like you mentioned, that it's maybe a story arc, or else it'll be like these Doctor Who the Sixth Doctor, where the intent of the crew was he was a very mean doctor, but eventually he opens up, but because he was so vastly different from the other doctors that nobody gave him a chance. And that might be a trap that this crew might be falling into as well. And you got to be careful of that, because if you're not likable, it doesn't matter what the attention of the story writers are if your main character cast is unlikable, kind of deal.
Let me point one thing out, guys, without giving anything away. Thanks, Donnelly. Without giving anything away, whereas in the first season, I feel like John Robinson was not depicted as a great father. They actually go out of their way in second season to say how good of a father he is. And I think that while I think that George and Adega are right about this multi-season story arc, and I do think it started in a very concrete place, I do also think that there is a little bit of course correction, in my opinion. So.
Well, and I'll add to that saying, I hope
Testing. I'm back.
Welcome back. I was saying that if that's the case, I hope that they don't just tell us he's a good father, but actually show us in his characters, in the kids' teachings.
Hello?
Yep.
We can hear you, Chief Cook.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just checking my bad.
No problem.
Probably the audio, but
Yeah.
I got fixed.
Yeah. My hope
Okay, sorry
is
about that.
no problem. My hope is that they, the way
Someone asked me a question before.
Yes, the question was, Chief, that what's your thought about Judy being a tokenism? And I think we moved on from that. But if you want to answer, go right ahead.
Hey, real quick, guys, I got to sneak off and run to the store before they close up.
All right, Stogie. Thanks for joining
It was
us.
great hanging out with
Catch you
everyone.
later.
I'll
Hey,
catch you next
Stogie,
time.
before you take off, I know I was animated, but
Hey,
sorry if I offended.
it's fine. Don't worry about it. We're good. All good.
Alrighty.
All right, homies.
Bye,
Catch
Stogie.
you next
All
time.
right, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Later.
Chief Cook, yeah, if you wanted to go and answer that, because I know you mentioned it before, but maybe you felt the new Judy was kind of forced into and it was kind of a token.
Yeah, I mean, it's typical one of Hollywood movies. You gotta have a token, someone of color, and they're serious now. That's what they're doing these days in Hollywood now. Why all of a sudden there's a. But I didn't have a problem with her. If she was adopted, okay, it's come from I'm glad she's not come from like some poor family, or I'm glad that's fine with me.
So her dad was just different, a different dad, and her dad was an astronaut who died, and he was African American, and so but Maureen Robinson was her mom. So
okay, was her mom or is it like adopted mom? That's why.
No, it's her. Maureen is her biological mom. Maureen, the mother Robinson, is her biological mom.
Oh, I didn't know that part. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought she just like adopted because he was just being a friend and adopted because his friend died. So I'm gonna take your kid in and adopt and I'm gonna take it over because I was asking, where's her mother? So,
she had a prior marriage and she had Judy, and then the dad died, and then she married John Robinson. So
okay, I didn't know that part. That's part I didn't know. I didn't know that. Okay, because I thought just like some typical, they trying to find some kid out somewhere and I'm gonna adopt a kid and that's it. But there's a lot in Hollywood there. You see it a lot, a lot of these movies, a lot of TV series want to take some kid and make their own, and I wish, I hate Hollywood trying to switch, color and race. It just don't make no sense. I understand they're trying to make more minorities in it, which I didn't have no problem, but someone like Judy and Push making her 18 years old, 18, 19 years old, and like the first scene what got me so mad, when she tried to save his wheel was in the water, and he dad said don't go in there, and she did anyway, and he he talked to her, they went at each other, and she said, I mean, you're still a kid. Even though I don't care, you still I wish have respect for your dad. That's what I'm trying to say. He's more respect for the dad. But at that since you told me that, I didn't. I'm glad that was better than I previously talking about.
So I think as far as writing it in, Adega liked the way they did it. Because she was the oldest daughter, I think they did an okay job to introduce, like, okay, so there was a prior marriage, and then that she was widow. So Maureen Robinson was a widow, and Judy Robinson was orphaned, from her dad, and so she met, and so I thought it was okay. I agree with Adega. It was the way they did it was okay. So I just wanted to get your input because you had mentioned it before. That's all.
Yeah, I did. I mean, like I said, I didn't know that part, but at least that sounds better. She got remarried. Okay, it's fine. That's like that. But I just didn't know. Go some person adopt some kid and bring him on. Got adopt some little poor kid, and it's a lot in Hollywood.
You're right. If it would have been an adoption, you're right. It would have seemed a little forced.
Yeah. But if they wrote it like that, I have no problem with it. But no, that's a dead now. The dead's alive, or might be alive. Oh.
By the way, guys, I gotta say you all got some very colorful avatars tonight.
Yeah.
The one I'm using is as close of approximation as I can get to one of my lead characters. George has seen my idea, and he's so close to figuring it out.
Awesome! I can't wait to see that.
I thought that guy looked like Tom Cruise. Looked like
No. It's one of the heroes from a book series that I wrote.
Yeah, look at that. Is that Tom Cruise? Yeah.
No, some artist did it.
Yeah, that right there is an old costume from the 70s, back in the 80s, called Black Star, John Black Star, which is the same people who made He-Man, Filmation.
Oh my gosh,
they made Black Star, they made He-Man, they made Brave Star,
Silverhawk,
and that's where it came out from. So that was one of my kid idea. I just saw it. I had another one, which is the guy from Airwolf. I was gonna put this guy on there, swing by, so I'm gonna use this. So that's one of my favorite TV shows back in the day. That's John Blackstar and the Dragon Horse.
Nice.
Now, I'm going to ask a question because I'm a little confused. I'm slightly confused about one thing in the series, guys, and I want to know if you guys have a little confusion. The bad robot, the evil robots, or the evil entity, I'm a little confused about the relationship between him and the good robot. And what's the... can anybody clarify that for me? Because I'm a little... I don't think it's addressed in it properly.
Okay, what I'm understanding is, okay, the good robot lost his memory, he crash landed on a planet, lost his memory, met it, pet it like a dog or something, trained it, came with it. Good bad robot knows it, that we are from this trying to tell it, no, we from this planet, come with us, no, because we are talking good and we were bad, and they went at it. So that's I think my summary of it.
Do we know what the relationship? We have no idea what the relationship is between the good robot and the bad robots, right?
Yeah,
nothing. We know nothing.
I remember the last season. I mean, this season, the leader. I think the good robot. Remember who he is. Remember the leader of that race. I think that's the leader. Saved it from the humans. Took it back to this planet. Took it back to the ship. and somehow they regenerated itself, came back, started killing, and all of a sudden, the good robot comes save the day. But I think they know each other. I think they're real close. No, he's trying to say no. They saved you, leave him alone. No, but that's what I think of it. Anything from the same idea?
Anybody else?
I thought it was that the bad robot infected the good robot at that initial meeting, and then it was trying to escape. So it
Well, I
tried to
understand
use.
why they just create their own robot. That's what I didn't
Yeah.
like that part. I think they
Yeah.
should create their own robot. That's the only thing I hate about that robot.
Yeah, the only thing that
The old robot, they talk more.
yeah,
Oh,
the only
Will
thing that
Robinson, Dangerous Robinson, this bird say anything.
yeah, it gave me
This guy in a
flash.
suit.
It gave me a flashback of the Lost in Space movie where I'm thinking, oh no, these are all like time travel creatures, robot or something like that. Maybe they're incorporating that idea as well. But from what it looked like from the last season was that second robot was trying to steal like the engine or something from the ship, and trying to eliminate the crew until the good robot came back into.
Right there.
Yep, we're here. We're here, Chief. Can you hear us?
Go ahead, Denali. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. That's when the good robot kind of remember.
Here's the question: what's going to happen on season 3? Any ideas? Any predictions?
He really can't hear us most of the time.
You can't. Yeah.
I see.
Who, me?
Chief Cook, hold on a sec, because I want to see what Adega and Denali and George have to say about it.
I'm sorry, I can't hear anybody because mine's going out. My bad.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Adega, I guess. Go ahead. What did you want to? Did you want to add anything about the robots?
No, other than I like this robot far better than the other two incantations. The movie one wasn't bad. The original, when I was a kid, I loved robots. Never did like Robbie. Never. Except Forbidden Planet. I liked when they did him on Forbidden Planet. But
Wow,
the
back in the
whole,
day.
but the whole design and the way they made the character form, I didn't like it. But this one for this newest incantation, and you normally I'm a purist for original stuff, but I like the new one a lot better.
That was a deep cut, Forbidden Planet. You think that for season 3, like Chief was asking before, you think that they'll incorporate storylines from the Forbidden Planet for season 3 to incorporate in the robot storyline?
I think it all depends on the writers.
Yeah.
If they are weak writers, they will. They'll pull from any resource they can. If they're real writers, they will dream it up and put it on paper.
Right.
George, any opinions on the robot? George?
I like the robot.
At least enough data.
I like the robot from the 1990s movie. I thought that was really a nice homage to the robot of the 60s. And this robot's it's humanoid. It's it's sassy. It's brand new. It's shiny. It's okay, but I just love the clunkiness of the original robot, and they projected that clunkiness into the 1990 7 movie. Yeah, the late 90s movie, and that's what I found really awesome. Is just the robot was clunky. It wasn't moving around like this new robot that was walking around, smooth movements and that kind of stuff. It was an intrusive element into the story, into the family, and everyone worked hard to keep it in the family. Do you see what I'm saying?
I did like the movie Robot as well. I did like that.
I like the movie Robot, but I like the newest one better. But I totally see your point. It's completely valid. I'm just weird that way, I guess.
No, it's okay, Adega. I give you permission to have a different opinion than mine.
No, it's all cool.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Well,
What do
yeah.
you guys? Oh, I was going to ask you a question. What do you guys think about the fact that in this version of Lost in Space, they are intermittently alone and intermittently with everybody else who's on this expedition? What do you guys think about that? The fact
That
they're
was the
also
best
part of this
part.
greater community.
That was the best part of it because we get real boring if it was all by himself. So that was the best part of it. Just all by himself. So that was the best thing about the show. More and more people off the same quest, same idea. So that was great. If they're by himself, it sucked. It totally sucked.
I think I agree with that as well. I like the idea. I mean, they were supposed to be seeds of finding new locations, so it makes sense, lore wise and story wise, for them to meet up with other travelers as well. So, and they're like their own islands. I think kind of like what the property was based on originally, the Swiss Robinson family. They, even though they were in the island, they met other people from time to time. So I totally dig it.
That's right. With regards to the Swiss Family Robinson analogy, they were part of a bigger convoy, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Right.
I have a question to y'all like the ship. Jupiter 2, was it better looking than the original?
I got a soft spot for the original, but I actually like the movie version as well. It had a nice slick design that for some reason, I liked as well. In this ship, I think it was a little bit grounded for my taste, but it serves the function. It's a vessel for space traveling. So, I'll leave it there.
George, what do you think about the new Jupiter 2? I think you already said before, but
I thought the reveal in the movie version was really amazing. How they were rocketing off the Earth, and you're going, oh man, they're gonna go with that design, awesome. And then they hit orbit, and then the outer shell breaks apart. I'm like, what? That threw me for a loop. I was looking forward to the saucer. I was really looking forward to the saucer. Yeah, this one's a nice touch between all the versions that appeared so far. And you know what? For a ship that for an interstellar ship, it has a hard time getting to its point, to its location. Just throwing it out there. Right,
For me, I guess when I think of things more on a science basis, and how you look at what the first planes were, then you look how they've evolved over the years. You had rivets and wires going to smoother lines. Now the best planes that we have, there are no lines at all. You could see the shape of the ship, but in order to perform stealth, it's perfectly smooth. To me, when I see ships like that, I think it doesn't satisfy my imagination. The movie from the 90s seems to do it much more. But I would prefer to see something, because we're so limited in our thinking and understanding of an actual 3D space. That looks like it's set to go up, down, and forward, where an actual ship that can do interstellar travel should be able to go any direction at any time, instead of having to turn and face one direction. That's still planetary atmospheric thinking. And you have these edges, and like he shows the ship where it has the edges and the corners and the different things, and it's just my mind and its thinking. Those are areas where there can be stresses, whether in a planet, in water, what have you. I would think that if they're planning on designing a ship to go into various different atmospheres, different places, they would make it to where it was seamless and able to traverse various different terrains without having those stresses. So it's to me, it's like, I've seen it before.
Right. I think those are like comfort lines, kind of like it's to give the. It's kind of really hard to make a vessel that's really seamless, have character, unless you really know it from a conceptual design view, because what you're talking about, if it was seamless and streamless as well, it could easily be like a boring diamond figure. You can basically make a diamond figure, and it could be completely characterless. So it's kind of balancing that, like kind of like, okay, we understand, if it's interstellar, it doesn't need to have any shapes, it doesn't need to have a front or back because it goes all direction, but normal people who don't really get into the science that much, they can only attribute it to objects as from day-to-day life that makes it simple, like a car. You go forwards and you go backwards. Okay, I get it.
You gotta think it's better designed than the Exo Enterprise.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you on that. That's what people expect.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just because that's all they've been given.
Right.
And in their own minds, they're seeing other things. Why not push it a little bit?
Right.
That's just me. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
No,
but I'm thinking expose people to, well, look how good the Tesla's taken off. And then I got this new truck, and there's a lot of people. We've never seen a vehicle like his truck, and yet people love it.
Right. And I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying either.
Not everyone, but most people do.
Yeah. But it's kind of hard to translate.
And it should look better than the NX Enterprise.
I'm just shaking. I'm shaking. Enterprise. Moving on because I'm remembering the opening of Enterprise. No, it's where I want to go. No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think it's really hard to make those concepts that is visually pleasing and kind of relate that to the artist and say, no, this is not what we're looking for. No, this is not what we're looking for, as well as kind of getting people to buy into that concept. I mean, Tesla does this truck because he's the owner and he says my way or the highway kind of deal. But when you're dealing with vast people and other people's money and all that sort of things, you kind of start finding, okay, what can people compromise and do that? So I think I see that's kind of what that design is kind of like. It's like they're trying to do homage for the audience that watched the original Lost in Space, but they're trying to do their own thing, and then they're trying to make that ship visually appealing, even though looking at it, it's like it shouldn't even need a front or back because there's no direction in space except for going to a planet to another planet kind of deal. So what's really up?
Yeah, I got to step away for a sec.
Sure.
Okay.
Any comments, George or Cook?
Here we go.
Well, I was thinking the interesting element regarding Lost in Space is that I've said this before, and it's in the title, and they're really not lost in space.
Is everybody on mute?
Nope. George is talking.
Cook, can you hear any of us? No, I don't think Cook can hear us.
Sounds like he has a short somewhere in his speaker, his headset. I keep hearing static, and maybe it's picking it up.
Yeah.
So, which one?
Welcome back.
he's going.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
No problem.
Okay.
Well, the whole thing about Lost in Space is Lost in Space, and right now, season 1 has been lost on a planet somewhere in space, and I get that.
Did y'all hear my last question?
Season 2, they're sort of in space, but are they really lost? I mean,
They think the Jupiter 2 is better than the NX Enterprise.
Boy, that was a while ago. The question. Okay, raise your hands. Who can hear George?
I can hear you, George.
Occasionally. When I
think you
wanna
can't
hear him,
us all the time.
I can hear you, George. You're fine.
Okay, so there's a technical issue with Cook. But the thing is, are they really lost in space? I mean, they know where they are, they know where they're going. So, unlike the movie version, they were truly lost in space. They had absolutely no understanding of where they were in relation to the Earth and to their destination. In this one, they know where they are. They know they know their location. They know where their Alpha Centauri, the planet that they're going to. They know where the Earth was in terms of backtracking, so to speak. So, we haven't really got that, awesome element of actually being truly lost in space yet.
So you can say detour in space then.
Detour in space is a little more accurate, yes.
Well, the only thing I could recommend is maybe when they get off this next planet, they hit a wormhole that flings them off into a different quadrant altogether where they don't recognize any of the star. Not Voyager. Not Voyager. and that they have the fantastical elements from what the original Lost in Space and the movie version of Lost in Space were trying to achieve as well. And I think that will probably go back to the question you were asking before, which was whether it's a arc story of the family. You get into this hard family, and because of the journey, they become closer and you care about them. I think if season 3 puts them in that situation where they're truly lost in space, where they don't know where they are, where they don't know where the Earth is at, where they have limited supplies and they have to kind of hitchhike on each planet like an island until they get, kind of stable. I think that's going to really prove what the family is made of. And I think that will integrate with, the lessons of the veteran of the Father Robinson. That's going to show the, mechanical, the scientific mind of both Judy and Mother Robinson. It's going to show Penny and her wittiness, Dr. Smith and her cleverness, the robot, Will. It's going to, I think that will be the branching off point where they have to depend on each other, because any mistake they make will be very detrimental to their survival. And I hope that's, maybe by the end of this season, that's where it's going on for the next season.
That's not bad. Yeah, you know what? That's pretty good. I never even thought about it that way. I mean, I was just hooked onto just the words "lost in space," and like you said, it's more like a detour. But never really thought about it. You know what? If they're truly lost in space, where every move is life and death, I think the bickering and the drama would actually disappear real quick. It wouldn't be like Lord of the Flies anymore. PJ, what do you think?
I was just thinking about, and I don't want to reveal anything from season 2. I don't think I am. The fact that so they're using a star drive that's not human, if I'm not mistaken, and that seems very different to from what we've seen in the past. It also seems extremely unreliable for as a form of. I mean, their whole plan revolves around this alien star drive. I don't know. What do you guys think about? Is that it seems very unreliable to me in many ways.
It seems very
It's
Roswell
not
like.
exactly warp drive.
It is very Roswell or Ward Drive.
Uh,
I would say if
what,
it's
light speed? Maybe it can have some kind of light speed or something.
Well, without getting too much into it, it apparently opens up wormholes. So
well, that
FTL.
that answered my question. What's probably going to happen at the end of the season, and into season 3, um, because then they'll take a homage from the issue that happened with the movie version, which kind of happened similar to them, where the drive kind of flung them off to space. So if it opens up a wormhole and it flings them off to space, then it kind of builds that scenario that I kind of mentioned before, which would be awesome. And I'll definitely be looking forward to that if it does come to pass.
Yeah, I really like the wormhole or the you know they were heading towards the sun, and it said, you know what, you forget about navigating or putting a course, and just point a direction and just go, get us out of this danger. And they did that without plotting a direction or a map, and they ended up truly lost in space. And I thought that was really nice.
I think another interesting idea they could incorporate as well with the robot is actually, if they haven't already, and bear with me if this is probably if they've already addressed it in this second season, is having the robot merge with the ship itself to build that character. So the ship is with them, you know, in the physical form of the robot, the good
I want
robot.
to check something. DJ, if you can hear me, raise your right hand. Okay. Thank you. Hold on.
Okay. And that the ship then becomes another character, not just a background setting, but actually a character that's actually actively trying to protect the family as well. Then it becomes a whole meaning that, even the ship is working to protect the family as well, and is working with the family, throughout the whole thing. So that would be an interesting aspect as well, if they haven't addressed that, in this season.
I am going to have to call it good. My family all just went to sleep, and I am pretty close to each one of the bedrooms, and I don't want to wake anybody up.
Thanks, Adega, for hanging out. And actually, guys, I'm gonna have to call it in 5 minutes. So if anybody has any last comments that they want to talk, bring up, thanks a lot, Adega, for joining us. I appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah, hopefully I wasn't too animated here and there.
It's okay. We had a very heated debate at the beginning, so it was a little rowdy at the beginning.
Okay.
Thanks, Adega. Do you guys want to, Chief Cook? Do you want any closing comments? Before we close out?
Technical difficulties with Cook are still going on.
Yeah, I guess you can't hear us. George, any closing comments?
Yeah. Thoroughly, I'm very happy with this Lost in Space, the Netflix version. It's got a lot of great elements. It's certainly not woke in the sense. So it's definitely a family movie. I'm not referring to the movie of the 1990s. I'm talking about this entire season.
Okay, I'm back.
It feels like it's a movie, and
Stupid AT&T Wi-Fi.
and it's something that parents and the kids can actually look to and enjoy together, because the kids possibly can identify with the kids, and the parents could possibly identify with the parents, and they can actually spark a conversation or ribbing each other. I said, "Look, Dad, the dad in the show, he's such a doofus," and then later on, the dad ribs back his kid and says, "Yeah, but look at what the dad just did now. He's really badass." Yeah, it's just family fun. It's great. Recommend it.
Chief Cook, do you have any closing thoughts?
On the series,
Yeah, on beginning of episode of season 2. Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was a great episode. I'm waiting for season 3. I think Smith gonna be back. I don't think they could her off real quick. You said earlier about the two Smith. I think that's gonna be great. Spice it up. They have two Smiths on the ships, so that's the only thing I'm waiting to see. Hope it be longer. Was 10 episode? What time?
Say that again.
So how many episodes was that? Was it 10? How many was?
10. Yeah, 10. Yeah.
It was 10.
I do think it's going to be very interesting when we do the real Dr. Smith again. I do think it's going to be very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Denali. Go ahead, Chief Cook. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we're gonna learn more about the alien robot race, more where they come from. I think more and more to try to get close to after turning something happened again. So basically, like the original series. I think it'll be better. I think people liked it, so I think it's gonna be better this time.
And Chief Cook, I'm sorry we had a little trouble with your connection. Thanks for I appreciate you jumping in on it with us today.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Yeah.
No, it's not your fault. And Denali, I wanted to ask any closing comments.
Well, thank you first for inviting me on the stream and letting me say a couple thoughts about the series. Like the first season was a slow burn for me, but I stuck to it. I'm slowly watching the second season, so keeping a fresh eye, giving it time to digest, and really think what the intentions of the writers and the actors are doing. And it seems like they recognize some weaknesses of the first season, and they're trying to rectify in this season. So I'm happy about that. It shows they're very receptive to positive, constructive feedback. And I hope that season 3.
Type. You type real fast. I can hear you typing.
I hope in season 3 they are truly lost in space and make it more fantastical, and not be afraid of the unknown, as one would say.
I wanted to ask you guys, Denali and Chief Cook, do you guys have? I just put up George's channel in the chat. Everybody, please go ahead and subscribe to George if you haven't. Do you guys have content on your channel? Are you guys creators, Chief Cook?
Yeah, I see it. I'm going to log in right now. Subscribe now.
Do you want to put your channel in there too? Okay.
Okay.
And Denali, do you have? Are you a content creator as well?
Not yet.
Well,
So once it's set up, I'll let you guys know.
that's fine. If you want to put your channel in there anyway, we could subscribe to Denali's future content.
Okay, thank you.
So, I forgot any predictions? Any more predictions?
Any more predictions? Anybody?
Yeah, I predict.
Anybody going to die?
I'm calling it right now. I predict that the robots are actually just future human technology.
Interesting.
Because they haven't right now they haven't touched they just briefly touched upon the time travel element that the movie version and the old 60s series touched upon big time. So I think they're going to be bringing in time travel in some way.
That's going to be awesome.
Interesting. Denali, any predictions?
Well, George took the idea, but I was having the same vibe that the alien ship, if they're taking a homage from the movie, that there's some time travel shenanigans happening. And it's kind of strange coincidence that they found an alien engine and it took them to alien robots, and you're dealing with all this kind of deal. So it'd be kind of interesting on that aspects.
Okay. Well, guys, I wanna thank you all for joining us, and Chief Cook and Denali, thanks for joining us for the first time. I appreciate it, and everybody else who joined us earlier. Everybody else in the chat, Joe Lau, Nano Reaper, Axonar was in here before. Everybody who's been in here, Adega. Thanks to everybody, and we'll do this again soon, guys. You
Thanks,
guys all
DJ.
have a good night.
You too. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, guys.
Thank you.
Live long and prosper.
Thank you.